Hey guys, how are you all? I hope you all are doing well. Today we are going to see an amazing what-if story. But before we start, it's just a humble request that if you are new here, please subscribe because it actually motivates me a lot to post more. Also, the stories on my channel are fully written by me, so if you have any suggestions for what-if stories, please let me know below the comments section. Now, without any further delay, let's start. What if Harry Potter possessed a Norse god's artifact? The root of Yggdrasil. Harry hit the wet stone on his hands and knees and kept going anyway. His glasses were half fogged, his throat burned, and his lungs felt too small for the air down here. Behind him, something massive moved. It was not fast in a human way. It was fast like a boulder rolling downhill. The sound came first, scales dragging, then the heavy slide of its body, then the hiss that made his skin crawl. Ginny's head lolled against his shoulder. "Stay with me," Harry said, and his voice came out too thin. "Ginny, just stay with me." She did not answer. Her hair stuck to her cheek with sweat and whatever slime coated the floor. She felt like a doll that had forgotten how to breathe. Up ahead, the massive statue of Salazar Slytherin loomed in the greenish dark, mouth open like it was waiting to swallow them. The chamber smelled like old water and rot. Under that was another smell that did not belong, sharp and metallic, like the air after lightning strikes. But there was no sky here, just stone, just the lake, just the echo of Harry's own ragged breathing. A laugh floated across the chamber, soft and pleased. "You're still trying," Tom Riddle's voice said. "That is what makes you so tiresome, Harry." Harry's grip tightened around the sword. His fingers were slick. He could not tell if it was water, sweat, or the blood that was already starting to leak from his arm where he had scraped it raw on the stone. He did not look back. He had looked back once, and he had seen it. The basilisk's head was the size of a horse. Its eyes were a nightmare. He had the sorting hat shoved under one arm, the sword in the other, Ginny's weight dragging him sideways. His legs shook. Every step felt like the stone was pulling at him. Tom stood near the unconscious girl's earlier spot, calm as if they were in a classroom. The diary was in his hand. The pale, handsome face of the memory looked like it belonged on a chocolate frog card, not in a pit under a school with a monster creeping closer. Harry forced his eyes to stay low, fixed on the floor, the statue's feet, anything but the basilisk's gaze. "You can't win," Tom said, almost kindly. "You should know that. I'm not even truly alive yet, and I'm still ending you." "It's poetic, really." "Shut up," Harry said, and it did not come out brave. Came out desperate. The basilisk hissed, and the sound hit Harry like a pressure wave. Ginny's fingers twitched once, faint as a dying spark. Harry stumbled. His knee slammed into a ridge of stone. The sword clanged, and the noise rang through the chamber like a bell. Tom's smile widened. "There?" Tom murmured, and Harry felt it, like he could feel the monster's attention shift. "It hears you." Harry moved again. He could not carry her far. He could not fight like this. He could not do anything except keep moving and hope the next second still belonged to him. Something red and gold flashed overhead. A bird. No, not a bird. Phoenix. Fawkes swooped down, wings beating hard enough to stir the filthy air. Harry's heart lurched with sudden relief that made him dizzy. "You," Harry rasped. "Fawkes." The phoenix landed on the stone beside him, head cocked, black eyes bright. It dropped something heavy that thudded against the floor. A battered, ragged old hat. The sorting hat. Harry swallowed. His mouth was so dry it hurt. Tom looked mildly annoyed now. Albus always did have a flair for drama. Fawkes cried out, a sound like hope, and launched back into the air, circling high out of reach. Harry's fingers dug into the hat and the sword at the same time. He could not think. He could only act. The basilisk surged forward, the rush of its body making water slap against the stone edges of the lake. The hiss became a roar. Harry heard it, felt it, like the chamber itself was shaking. Harry shoved Ginny down behind the curve of a stone pillar, forcing himself between her and the monster. His stomach clenched as if his body already knew what was coming. "Harry," Tom said, voice almost gentle, "look at it. See what it really is. See how small you are. Harry did not look. He lifted the sword. His arms trembled. The basilisk's head lunged into view, and Harry flinched away from the eyes by instinct, chin tucked, gaze locked on the floor just in front of it. He saw its jaw open. He saw the fangs, long as daggers, glistening. Fawkes screamed and dove, slamming into the basilisk's face. The phoenix's beak struck like a knife. There was a wet sound, horrible and final. The basilisk shrieked. Harry's head snapped up without thinking, and for half a heartbeat he saw the eyes. But they were blinded now, leaking dark fluid, thrashing. He moved. The sword swung up and into the soft place under the jaw where the scales parted. Harry put everything he had into it. He felt the blade bite. He felt resistance. He felt it go in farther. The basilisk convulsed. His body whipped around. The tail slammed into Harry's side like a sledgehammer and launched him across the slick floor. He hit hard. The sword tore from his grip and skidded away with a scrape that made his teeth ache. Harry sucked in air and tasted something coppery. Tom laughed, and it had a sharper edge now. You really think that worked? Harry pushed himself up, hands sliding in slime. His ribs screamed. His vision swam. The basilisk turned, blinded but furious, head sweeping side to side, fangs snapping. Could still hear him. Could still smell him. Harry's mind went blank in a way that felt like death. No clever plan. No thought. Just survival. He scrambled for the sword. The basilisk lunged. Harry threw himself sideways, grabbed the hilt, and yanked. It came free with a grinding sound, and Harry rolled with it, barely avoiding the snapping jaws. The basilisk struck again. Harry swung. The blade clipped a thong, sparks skittering. But the monster's head crashed into the floor, shaking the chamber. Harry's arms went numb from the shock. He tried to stand. His legs shook so hard he almost fell. Fawkes circled above, crying out again. Frantic. Stop making this harder, Tom called. All you have to do is die. Harry staggered back toward Ginny. He reached her, crouched, touched her cheek. Cold. Too cold. Ginny, he said again, and his voice cracked. Please, nothing. Harry's throat tightened until he could barely breathe. He turned back toward the basilisk with something ugly rising in him. Something that was not courage. It was rage and fear tangled together. The monster lunged again, and this time Harry did not dodge far enough. Fong punched into his arm. Harry screamed. It was not a heroic scream. It was raw. His arm burned like it had been shoved into a fire. The venom flooded him fast, too fast, crawling up his veins. The basilisk's head ripped back, and Harry went down, clutching his arm. His fingers came away wet with blood, and the sight made him dizzy. Tom's voice drifted over, almost pleased. There it is. That's the end. Harry's mind tried to focus, tried to think of something, anything. He could not feel his fingers properly. The venom made everything distant, like he was already a ghost. He saw the diary in Tom's hand. He saw Tom watching him like this was a show. Harry's body shook. He tried to crawl. Fawkes dropped to the floor beside him and made a soft sound, almost like a whine. The phoenix pressed its beak to Harry's wound and wept. Tears hit Harry's skin and burned cold. The pain eased. Not gone, but slowed, as if someone had put a hand over the venom and told it to wait. Harry gasped and tried to lift himself. Not enough, Tom said, and now he sounded irritated. You are very difficult to kill. Harry forced himself to move toward the diary. The basilisk thrashed behind him. It was dying. He felt that in the way the sound changed, in the way its movements got more frantic and less controlled. It was not finished yet, but it was weakening. Harry reached the diary. His hands shook. He looked up at Tom's face, and for a moment he saw something behind the charm, something colder. You're not real, Harry croaked. Tom leaned down. His eyes were bright with a cruel kind of interest. That's what you think. Harry's gaze flicked toward the basilisk's broken thong on the floor. White, curved, dripping venom. His hand moved. He grabbed it. Tom's eyes narrowed. Harry drove the thong into the diary. Ink exploded upward like blood. Tom screamed. It was not a normal scream. It was rage and pain and disbelief all at once, and it hit Harry like a physical thing. The air felt like it cracked. Tom's body convulsed, edges warping as if the memory was being torn apart. His face twisted, no longer pretty, no longer calm. "No," Tom snarled. "No, no, no." Harry pushed the fong in deeper, grinding it. Ink kept pouring, soaking his hands, slick and hot. Tom's scream turned into something thin and furious. He tried to grab Harry's wrist, but his fingers blurred, not quite solid. Then he was gone, not fading like a ghost, shattering like glass. The chamber went quieter. Harry sat back on his heels, panting. His head spun. The venom still crawled under his skin, slower now, but it was there. His arm throbbed with a deep, sick pain. The basilisk gave one last convulsive shudder and went still. Its huge body slumped across the floor. The chamber settled into a heavy silence broken only by water dripping and Harry's uneven breathing. Harry stared at the diary, ruined, leaking ink, then at his own shaking hands. "Ginny." He turned, crawled back to her. His chest felt tight, like someone had tied rope around it. He touched her again. Still cold. "Fox," Harry said, voice hoarse. "Help her, please." The phoenix hopped closer, black eyes fixed on Ginny, then pressed its beak to her mouth and wept again. Ginny coughed. It was small, weak, but it was a cough. Harry let out a sound that was half laugh and half sob. His forehead dropped against her shoulder for a second, relief hitting him so hard he almost passed out. "Ginny," he whispered. "You're alive. You're alive." Her eyelids fluttered. She looked at him like she did not understand where she was. Then her eyes widened in horror, taking in the dead basilisk, the filthy floor, the ink on Harry's hands, the blood on his sleeve. "Harry," she choked out. I didn't want to, it was him." "I know," Harry said quickly. "It's over. It's over." His arm jerked with pain, and he hissed through his teeth. Ginny's gaze snapped to the wound. "You're hurt." "I'm fine," Harry lied, and his voice was too fast. Ginny stared at him like she did not believe a word of it. Then her face crumpled, and she started crying. Harry did not know what to do with that. He just pulled her closer, clumsy, trying not to jostle his own arm too much, trying not to show how weak he was feeling. Fox made a low sound and turned toward the tunnels, as if urging them to move. Harry nodded. "Yeah, we need to get out." He tried to stand. His legs buckled. Harry caught himself on the stone, breath catching hard. The venom, even slowed, had eaten through his strength. Everything felt heavy. Ginny pushed herself up shakily, swaying. She grabbed his good arm. "Lean on me. You can barely stand," Harry said. "Shut up," Ginny snapped, and it came out so fierce it almost sounded like herself again. Then her voice softened. "Just come on." Harry did not argue. He could not. They stumbled toward the tunnel mouth, guided by the phoenix's glow. The air changed as they moved. It got colder. The smell of rot faded, replaced by something stranger, earthy and damp, like deep soil after rain. It did not make sense down here. Harry's vision blurred. His arm pulsed with sick heat, but the air around him felt increasingly cold, like a storm building under the castle. He blinked hard and kept moving. Ginny's grip tightened. "Do you hear that?" Harry strained his ears. At first he heard only their footsteps and the distant drip of water. Then he heard it, faint, like wood creaking in a wind that did not exist. A low hum, like someone far away was singing a note that rattled the bones. "What is that?" Ginny whispered. Harry did not answer because he did not know. Then the tunnel floor shifted under his foot. He stumbled and looked down. The stone was cracked here. Not old wear. A new split like something had pushed up from beneath. Thin roots threaded through the crack, pale and thick, like veins in marble. Roots did not grow like that under stone. Harry's blood dripped from his sleeve and hit the root. The hum deepened. Harry froze. His skin prickled. The air suddenly smelled sharper, metallic, like burnt iron. Ozone. And under it, that damp earth smell, petrichor. As if rain had fallen into this tunnel minutes ago. Ginny tugged his arm. "Harry, come on." Harry could not move. The roots pulsed. Not like plants. like something alive that knew it was being watched. Harry's head swam. His scar burned for a second, then went cold. Not numb. Cold like someone had pressed ice to his skin. A whisper brushed his thoughts. Not English, not Parseltongue. It sounded like a word made of wind and old stone. Harry swayed. His hand lifted without him meaning it to, reaching toward the root. Ginny hissed, frightened now. Harry, don't. His fingertips touched it. The root felt like wood and metal at the same time. It was slick with moisture, and beneath that there was something that felt like it was humming against his skin. The tunnel wall shuddered. Stone shifted. Dust fell. A section of the wall split open with a grinding sound that vibrated through Harry's teeth. Ginny screamed and yanked him back. Harry, the opening was not a collapse. It was an entrance. Beyond it was not the tunnel. Beyond it was a chamber carved from dark stone, older than Hogwarts, rougher, like it had been hacked out by hands that did not care about pretty edges. In the center of that chamber was a mound, a barrow. Harry knew the word without knowing how. The thought dropped into his mind like a stone into water. The mound was covered in roots, thicker now, twisting over it like a cage. And in the heart of it, half buried in stone, was a spear. It was not a wizarding spear. It did not look like anything from a museum. The shaft was dark, almost black, and the head was pale metal that caught the dim light and threw it back like lightning trapped in steel. Runes crawled along it, not carved shallow, but burned deep. They looked like they had been cut into reality itself. Harry's lungs stopped working for a second. Ginny whispered, voice shaking. What is that? Harry stepped forward before he could stop himself. His arms screamed at him. His legs threatened to fold. None of it mattered. The spear pulled at him like gravity. The hum was louder in here. It was in his bones now. The roots above the mound looked like they reached up forever, like the chamber ceiling had vanished. For a moment Harry's mind tried to make sense of it and failed. He saw a tree, not a normal tree, a massive thing, roots and branches stretching into darkness, holding worlds on its limbs like fruit. He blinked hard. The image did not go away. It flickered, layered over the stone chamber like two realities trying to share the same space. Ginny grabbed his sleeve. Harry, please, we have to go. We need Dumbledore. We need someone. Harry swallowed. His throat clicked. I think this is someone. He did not know why he said it. It just felt true. He stepped closer. The air got colder. His breath fogged. The venom in his arm pulsed, but now it felt like the cold was pushing back against the heat, making his skin ache. The spear was stuck in a slab of stone at the top of the mound, like it had been planted there to hold something down. Harry reached for it. Ginny jerked his sleeve again. Harry, no. That's cursed. Everything down here is cursed. Harry's fingers hovered over the shaft. The runes flared, light, pale and sharp, licked along the metal. It did not glow like a spell. It was more like the spear had opened its eyes. Harry's scar went cold again, colder than before. His stomach dropped. A flood hit his mind. Not words, not a voice. A rush of images and feelings that slammed into him so hard he staggered. Snow, black sky, ravens screaming, a man with one eye standing on a battlefield, spear in hand, cloak snapping in storm wind, a hall lit with fire and blood, wolves with jaws like iron, a tree that was also a road. Harry gritted his teeth and clutched the spear shaft. The cold surged into his hand. His fingers locked around it like they had been made for this. For one heartbeat he felt weightless. Then the world came back like a punch. Harry gasped and nearly dropped to his knees, but the spear held him upright, as if it refused to let him fall. Ginny was staring at him, wide-eyed. Harry! Harry looked down at his hand. He was holding it. The spear slid free of the stone without resistance, as if it had been waiting for him to ask. The roots around the barrow trembled, then went still, like something had been satisfied. Harry's arm burned where the basilisk had bitten him. The pain sharpened, then changed, shifting into a strange numb cold around the wound. He looked, and the skin around the bite was pale, almost gray. Ginny made a small choking noise. Your arm. Harry flexed his fingers. He could feel them. He could feel everything. Too much. The air. the stone. Ginny's heartbeat beside him. The slow drip of water. The distant groan of the castle above. It was like his senses had been ripped open. He swallowed hard. It's fine. That was another lie. The spear hummed in his grip, like it was breathing. And then it moved, not like a weapon, like a living thing choosing where to look. The spear tip angled toward the tunnel behind them, toward the chamber of the basilisk. Harry's stomach turned. Ginny whispered, "What is it doing?" Harry did not answer because he suddenly knew what it wanted. Not in words. In hunger. Victory. The thought hit him, ugly and cold. The spear was not satisfied. It had woken and it wanted proof. Harry's hand tightened around it without his permission. "No," Harry said, and his voice sounded small in the barrow chamber. "No, we're leaving. We're done." The spear's hum deepened. The runes along the shaft flashed once, and Harry's mind flicked again to that one-eyed man, calm on a field of bodies, as if death was just part of the weather. Harry's chest tightened. "I'm not him," Ginny whispered. "Who?" Harry shook his head, dizzy. "I don't know." The spear tugged again, and Harry fought it, teeth clenched. The cold climbed from his hand up his wrist. His fingers ached, but they did not loosen. Then the spear stopped tugging. Instead, a sensation rolled through Harry like a wave. A warning. It was not about the basilisk. That was already dead. It was about something else. Something that still existed. Something that had touched Ginny and would touch others. Harry's mind snapped to the diary. The memory. The way it had screamed when he stabbed it. Harry swallowed. "Ginny," he said quietly. Did it say anything to you?" The diary. The voice. Ginny's eyes filled again. She nodded once, shaky. It called itself Tom. Told me things. Told me to write. It told me if I stopped, it would hurt people. Harry's throat tightened. Did it ever talk about pieces? About splitting? About living in more than one place? Ginny stared at him like he had slapped her. What? Harry did not know how he knew to ask. He just did. The spear in his hand made his thoughts sharper, colder, like it was dragging hidden strings into the light. "I don't know," Harry said, voice rough. Just tell me." Ginny swallowed hard. It said it wasn't the whole of him. Said it was a memory. A part. Harry closed his eyes for a second. Part. The spear hummed again, low and satisfied, like it approved of the word. Harry opened his eyes and looked at the runes. He did not understand them, but one symbol looked like a mouth. Another looked like a road. Another looked like a thorn. And in the back of his mind, a word flickered. Gungnir. Harry inhaled sharply, and the cold in his hand jumped. Ginny saw his expression and flinched. "Harry, what's wrong?" Harry forced himself to speak. "We need to get out. Now." Ginny nodded fast. Yes, please." Harry turned toward the tunnel again. The barrow chamber did not want to let him go. He could feel the roots behind him, the impossible tree image pressing at the edge of his sight. The spear did not resist now. It stayed in his hand, quiet, heavy in a way that felt like responsibility. Harry stepped back into the tunnel. The crack in the wall sealed behind them with a low grind, stones smoothing over as if it had never opened. Harry twisted around, heart pounding. Ginny stared at the wall, shaking. It closed. Harry touched the stone. Smooth. No crack. No roots. He looked down. The spear was still in his hand. Ginny whispered, "How did you?" "I don't know," Harry said. And this time it was the truth. They moved. The tunnel seemed longer now. The air colder. Harry's arm throbbed under the sleeve, the bite burning under the numbness. Ginny stumbled. Harry caught her. "Are you all right?" Harry asked. Ginny gave him a look that was half hysterical and half angry. "Are you?" Harry almost laughed, and the sound came out broken. Fair point. They reached the place where the tunnel opened into the part where Ron had come down, where the cave-in had happened. A voice echoed ahead. "Harry, Ron." Harry's chest loosened so fast it almost hurt. Ron appeared, filthy, hair plastered to his forehead, wand in hand, face pale. Behind him was Professor Lockhart, dazed and blank-eyed, holding Ron's shoulder like a lost child. Ron's eyes locked on Ginny first, and his face crumpled with relief. He rushed forward and grabbed her, pulling her into a fierce hug. "Gin," Ron choked. "Ginny, oh thank God. I thought. Ginny clung to him and started sobbing again. Ron's gaze snapped to Harry, and he froze. Harry saw it. The moment Ron noticed the spear, Ron's eyes widened like he was staring at something that did not fit inside his brain. "What?" Ron whispered. "What is that?" Harry's grip tightened on the shaft automatically. "It's mine," came out too sharp. Ron blinked like he had not expected that answer. "What do you mean it's yours?" Harry swallowed. His mouth was dry again. The venom, the cold, the exhaustion. His brain felt like it was buzzing. "I found it," Harry said. "Down there. It came with me." Ron stared at the spearhead, then at Harry's arm where blood and ink stained the sleeve. His eyes flicked to Harry's face, to the pallor creeping in. "You look awful," Ron said, and his voice shook. "Mate, you're bleeding." "I'm fine," Harry said again, and he heard how thin it sounded. Professor Lockhart leaned forward, squinting at the spear like it was a prop in a play. "Ah," he said slowly. "Yes, the spear. Very dramatic. Very me." Ron shot him a look. "Professor, shut up." Lockhart blinked at him, offended, then smiled vaguely. "Well, no need to be rude." Ron muttered something under his breath that sounded very much like British slang and not at all polite. Harry tried to shift his weight and nearly went down. Ron grabbed him by the shoulder fast. "Whoa, Harry!" Harry's stomach lurched. The chamber and tunnel spun together. He clenched his jaw hard. "I need," Harry started, then stopped because the words would not line up. "I need to get out." Ron nodded quickly. Yeah, we're getting you out. Hermione's up there. Dumbledore's up there. Everyone's going mental." Ginny pulled away from Ron enough to look at Harry properly. Her gaze snagged on his arm, and her face went white. "Harry, that bite." "It's fine," Harry tried again. Ron looked from Ginny to Harry and swore, quietly but very sincerely. "We've got to move," Ron said. "Come on." They started toward the pipe route back up, the way Harry and Ron had come in. The spear felt heavier now, not physically, mentally, like it had settled into Harry's life and was not leaving. Harry kept his eyes on the stone in front of him and forced his legs to work. Fawkes flew ahead, lighting the way. At one point Ron glanced back at the spear again and again, like he expected it to attack him. "What is it?" Ron asked finally, voice low. "It's not like goblin-made, is it? It looks old. Older than old." "I don't know," Harry said. Ron swallowed. "Can you let go of it?" Harry tried. He loosened his fingers. They did not move. His hand stayed locked around the shaft like his muscles had forgotten how to open. Harry's heart jumped. Ron saw the expression on his face. Harry's breath came faster. "I can't." Ron's eyes went huge. "You can't what?" "I can't let go," Harry said, voice strained. Ginny made a small sound like she was about to be sick. Ron took a half step back, staring at Harry's hand, then at the spear. "That's," Ron whispered. "That's not normal." "No," Harry said. "It's not." They climbed. Felt like it took hours. Harry's arms trembled with the effort. The venom made everything heavy. The cold from the spear made his skin ache. His vision kept blurring at the edges. Ron kept talking, partly to keep Ginny from panicking, partly to keep himself from thinking too hard. "It's going to be fine," Ron said, voice shaking. "Dumbledore will sort it. He sorts everything. He'll just, do his thing." Harry did not answer. The spear hummed once. Quiet. Harry's stomach dropped, because he felt the spear's reaction. Not anger, not fear, disagreement. They reached the opening at last. Cooler air hit Harry's face, but it still smelled wrong down here, like wet stone and old secrets. Hands grabbed them from above. Someone shouted. Someone else swore. Harry was hauled up, half-dragged, half-carried. He blinked against bright torchlight and saw faces crowding the opening. Hermione was there, hair wild, eyes red-rimmed. The moment she saw Harry, she let out a sob that sounded like she hated herself for making it. "Harry," Hermione said. "Harry, you absolute idiot. You could have died." You could have died. I didn't, Harry said. And it came out flat because he was too tired to make it sound reassuring. Hermione's eyes snapped to the spear. Her mouth fell open. What is that? Ron said quickly. He can't let go of it. Hermione's gaze flicked to Harry's hand. She stepped closer automatically, reaching out. Harry flinched. Not because he wanted to, because the spear hummed again, and the cold spiked up his arm, warning him like a dog growling. Hermione froze, hand half extended. All right, Hermione said carefully, voice very controlled. I will not touch the dangerous ancient object. Happy. Ron let out a shaky laugh that sounded more like a sob. Hermione, she shot him a glare through tears. Ronald, do not start. Ginny was pulled up next. Mrs. Weasley's scream echoed down the corridor seconds later, and then Mrs. Weasley was there, clutching Ginny like she would never let go again, sobbing into her hair. Harry tried to focus on the fact that Ginny was alive and safe, but his head was swimming and his arm hurt so badly he could barely think. Professor McGonagall pushed through the crowd, face tight with fury and fear. Potter, she snapped. Where is the monster? Dead, Harry managed. Basilisk, dead. Her expression flickered, shock breaking through her anger for a moment. Then her eyes locked on the spear. What have you done now? Harry's throat clicked. I didn't. It had happened. Someone else stepped into view, calm and slow, and the corridor seemed to tilt around him. Dumbledore. His eyes were sharp behind the half-moon glasses. His face looked older than Harry remembered, as if the last hour had taken something from him even though he had not been in the chamber. Dumbledore's gaze went to Ginny, to Ron, to Hermione, to Harry's bleeding sleeve. Then it went to the spear. For a second, something flashed in Dumbledore's eyes that Harry had never seen there before. Fear. It was quick. It was controlled. But it was there. Dumbledore stepped closer. His voice was gentle. Harry, you did very well. We will take you to Madame Pomfrey at once. Harry tried to nod. His neck barely worked. Dumbledore's gaze softened slightly as it returned to Harry's face. Can you stand? Harry tried. His legs wobbled. The corridor spun. Ron grabbed him again. He's not standing. Then we shall carry him, Dumbledore said. His eyes stayed on the spear. Harry, my boy, where did that come from? Harry swallowed. The spear felt heavy in his hand. It was down there, Harry said. In a barrow. It opened. I touched a root and it opened. Dumbledore's eyes narrowed a fraction. A barrow, Harry nodded. It was under the tunnel. Old runes. Hermione inhaled sharply. Runes. Dumbledore's gaze flicked to her. Later, Miss Granger. Hermione pressed her lips together. Her eyes were bright and furious. Headmaster, with respect, later is how people die. We need to know what that is. Later, Dumbledore repeated, still gentle, but his tone was iron now. Hermione looked like she wanted to argue. She swallowed it. Harry watched them, and a cold thought formed in his head. Dumbledore was not curious. He was not excited. He was worried. Someone pushed through behind Dumbledore, black robes flowing like a shadow. Snape. Snape's eyes went to Harry's arm first, then to the spear. His face did not change much, but Harry saw the way his shoulders went rigid, like he had been slapped. What? Snape said, voice low. Is that? Harry's fingers tightened. Snape's gaze snapped to Harry's hand. Let go of it. Harry tried again. Nothing. Snape's mouth curled with disgust. Of course. Dumbledore held up a hand slightly, as if calming a situation that might snap. Severus. Not now. Snape ignored him and stepped closer, eyes fixed on the spear head like it offended him. Harry's stomach turned. The spear hummed, faint and cold, and Harry felt it, like it was aware of Snape the same way it had been aware of Tom Riddle. Snape reached for it. His fingers stopped an inch away, like he had hit an invisible wall. Snape blinked. He tried again, forcing his hand forward. It did not move, not because he stopped, because something stopped him. Snape's face went still in a way that made Harry's skin prickle. What? Snape said again, but now it sounded different. Less contempt. More disbelief. Dumbledore stepped forward, calm again. He looked at Harry. Harry, may I? Harry's mouth opened. Yes, he wanted to say, please take it. Please make this stop. But the spear hummed, and the cold rose, and Harry's jaw clenched. I can't, Harry said, and his voice came out rough. It won't let me. Dumbledore's expression did not change much, but his eyes did. He reached out. His hand closed around the shaft above Harry's grip. For half a heartbeat, Harry thought it might work. Dumbledore's fingers were steady. His face was calm. He looked like himself again, the man who always knew what to do. Then Dumbledore's hand stopped moving. Not in the sense that he paused. In the sense that the spear had turned to stone. Dumbledore's fingers tightened. He pulled gently. Nothing. He pulled harder. The muscles in his wrist flexed. His sleeve shifted. Still nothing. The corridor went quiet around them. Even the people whispering stopped. Dumbledore's eyes flicked to Harry's face again, and there was a question in them. Harry felt sick. Dumbledore let go slowly. He kept his palm open, as if showing the spear that he was not trying to steal it. It did not hum. It did not react. It just sat in Harry's grip like it belonged there. Dumbledore's voice was soft. All right, we will not force it. Snape stared at the spear like it was an insult to everything he believed in. Hermione looked like she might faint. Headmaster, she whispered, that is not normal magic. No, Dumbledore agreed. It is not. Harry's vision blurred again. His arm throbbed. The venom had not stopped. It was only delayed. I need, Harry started. Then stopped because the corridor tilted again and his stomach lurched. Ron tightened his hold. He needs Pomfrey. Now. Dumbledore nodded once. Yes, they moved. Harry barely remembered being lifted. He heard voices as if through water. He saw ceiling lights streak past. He felt cold and hot in waves, like his body could not decide whether to burn or freeze. The spear remained in his hand the whole time, steady as a heartbeat that did not belong to him. In the hospital wing, Madame Pomfrey took one look at him and went pale. What has he done? She demanded, already shoving people out of her way. He killed the basilisk, Ron said, voice raw. Pomfrey froze, then snapped her gaze to Harry's arm. Her eyes narrowed. Basilisk bite. Harry tried to speak. His tongue felt thick. Yes, Pomfrey made a sound that was half outrage and half terror. On my bed. Put him on my bed. Carefully. Do not drop him. They lowered him onto the white sheets. The hospital wing smelled clean, but Harry brought the chamber with him. Ink, blood, sewer damp, cold. Pomfrey grabbed his arm and rolled up his sleeve without asking. The bite marks were ugly, 2 punctures surrounded by pale skin that looked wrong, as if frost had spread under it. Pomfrey's breath hitched. Merlin's mercy. Harry stared at the marks. The area around them was not black, not necrotic in the usual sense, but it looked dead in a different way, gray and cold, like the life had been pressed out. Pomfrey reached for a vial, then stopped, eyes flicking to the spear still clutched in Harry's hand. What is that doing here? She snapped. It won't let go, Ron said quickly. Pomfrey's eyes narrowed. Potter, let go of it. Harry tried, and a wave of frustration rose in him because he wanted to. He wanted to drop it and sleep and never wake up. His fingers did not move. Pomfrey's mouth thinned. Fine. We will work around your ridiculous cursed weapon. Hermione opened her mouth. Pomfrey shot her a look that could strip paint. Not one word, Miss Granger. He is bleeding and poisoned. Hermione shut her mouth with a click, cheeks flushed. Dumbledore stood near the foot of the bed, hands folded. His expression was calm again. Too calm. Harry watched him through the blur in his eyes. Snape stood to the side, arms crossed, face like stone. Pomfrey pressed the rim of a goblet to Harry's lips. Drink. Tasted foul, bitter and burning. Harry gagged but forced it down. Pomfrey muttered under her breath and waved her wand over the wound. Any sign of organ failure yet? Ron looked like he wanted to throw up. Organ what? Pomfrey ignored him and frowned. The phoenix tears should have helped. Basilisk venom does not normally linger like this if treated quickly. Harry's throat tightened. It still hurts. Pomfrey glanced at the spear, That thing is interfering. Snape's voice cut in low and sharp. It is not interference. It is anchoring him. Pomfrey turned. What? Snape's eyes stayed on Harry's arm. Look at the spread pattern. The poison should have raced. It did. Something stopped it. Something replaced it. Pomfrey's mouth pressed into a thin line. I do not like what you are implying, Severus. Snape's lip curled. Neither do I. Hermione stepped closer, eyes flicking between the runes and Harry's wound. Those markings, she whispered. They're not like any runes I've seen in Ancient Runes class, but they look similar. Older. More angular. Dumbledore's gaze snapped to her. Miss Granger. Hermione held up her hands a little, defensive. I am not touching it. I'm just looking. Dumbledore's voice stayed gentle. You may look. You may not interfere. Hermione's jaw tightened. Yes, Headmaster. Harry tried to lift his head. Felt too heavy. Headmaster, Harry said, and his voice came out low. What is it? Dumbledore did not answer immediately. He studied the spear the way a man studies a locked door. Then he looked at Harry, eyes softening slightly. I do not know yet, Dumbledore said. But I will find out. Harry swallowed. The spear hummed. Quiet. Does it have a name? Hermione asked, unable to stop herself. Snape's gaze flicked to her, then back to the runes, as if he hated that she had asked the right question. Harry's mind flashed again, sudden and sharp. A battlefield. Snow. Ravens. The one-eyed man turning his head as if listening. A word, cold and heavy, fell into Harry's thoughts. Gungnir. Harry's breath caught. Dumbledore's eyes sharpened. Harry. Harry swallowed, throat dry. I think it's called Gungnir. The hospital wing went still. Ron stared at him. Gun what? Hermione's eyes widened. That's Norse. Ron blinked. That's what now? Hermione spoke fast because Hermione always spoke fast when her brain latched onto something. Norse. Vikings. Scandinavian mythology. Odin's spear. Ron stared at her like she had started speaking a different language. Odin is a god, Hermione. Yes. Hermione snapped, then caught herself and inhaled hard. Yes, I know. That is the point. Pomfrey looked between them. I do not care whose spear it is. I care that my patient is dying. Harry's stomach turned. Dumbledore's gaze stayed on Harry, steady. Harry, tell me what you saw. Harry's mind tried to grab the images, but they slid away like water through fingers. He felt cold sweat on his back. Not much, Harry said. Tree. A big tree. Roots. Ravens. A man. He had one eye. Snape's nostrils flared. Hermione whispered. Yggdrasil. Ron swallowed. That's a made-up thing. Hermione shot him a look. So are half the spells you use, Ronald. Ron gaped. That's not the same. It is the same, Hermione said, voice too sharp. Then she softened a bit, glancing at Harry's pale face. Sorry, Harry. Are you all right? Harry's answer was honest because he could not hold back the truth anymore. No, his voice broke on the word. Ron's face crumpled. Mate, you're going to be fine. Harry tried to nod, but his head fell back onto the pillow. The ceiling blurred. The spear hummed again, a low vibration that made Harry's teeth ache. Dumbledore took a slow step closer to the bed. Harry, I need you to listen to me. Harry's eyelids fluttered. I'm listening. Dumbledore's voice was calm. That object is ancient. It is powerful. It may be dangerous. It may be trying to bind itself to you in ways we do not yet understand. Harry tried to swallow. His throat hurt. It already is. Yes, Dumbledore said softly. And because of that, we must be careful. Harry stared at him through the blur. What do you mean? Dumbledore's gaze did not flicker. I mean, we will keep you here in safety. We will have you watched. Not as punishment, as protection. Ron nodded quickly. Yeah, that makes sense. Hermione hesitated, then nodded too. Though her eyes were still on the runes like they were a riddle she could not stand to leave unsolved. Harry's stomach tightened. Watched. Confined. Harry's mind flashed again. Not a vision this time, but a feeling. A cage. The spear in his hand grew colder. Harry's fingers ached. Dumbledore continued, voice gentle. Harry, I will ask you something. and I want you to answer honestly. Do you trust me? Harry stared at him. He wanted to say yes. It was the easy answer. It was the answer that made the world simple. But the spear hummed, and the cold rose, and something sharp pressed at the back of Harry's skull like a headache forming. Harry's breath came faster. Dumbledore's eyes narrowed slightly. Harry clenched his jaw. Stop! Dumbledore froze. Stop what? Harry squeezed his eyes shut for a second. The pain in his arm, the poison, the cold, the exhaustion, and now this pressure in his head like someone was trying to force a truth out of him. You're doing something, Harry said, voice rough. You're asking like it's simple. It's not simple. Ron looked confused. Harry, Hermione's eyes flicked to Dumbledore. She looked uneasy now. Dumbledore's expression stayed calm, but his gaze sharpened. I am not doing anything to you, Harry. The spear hummed once, low and displeased. The pressure in Harry's skull spiked. He gasped, clutching the spear tighter because his other hand shook too hard to hold onto the bedsheet. Pomfrey snapped. Enough. He is delirious. Stop interrogating him. Snape spoke softly, like a knife sliding out of a sheath. He is not delirious. Pomfrey rounded on him. Severus. Snape did not look at her. He looked at Dumbledore. Ask him again. Ask him a simple question. Something you already know. Watch what happens. Dumbledore's eyes flickered. Harry hated that he was still awake for this. He hated that his own body was shaking. Dumbledore leaned slightly closer. Harry, did you destroy the diary? Harry swallowed hard. Yes, the spear hummed, satisfied. No pressure. No pain. Ron let out a shaky laugh. Of course he did. We're standing here because he did. Hermione's hands clenched at her sides. Try something else, she said quietly, and then immediately looked guilty for saying it. Dumbledore's voice stayed soft. Harry, did Tom Riddle speak to you? Harry nodded once. Yes, the spear hummed again. Nothing else. Dumbledore's gaze stayed locked on Harry's face. Harry, did the diary contain a piece of Voldemort's soul? Ron inhaled sharply. Hermione went still. Harry's stomach dropped. He did not know that Dumbledore knew. He did not know that anyone knew. Harry's mouth opened. The spear went cold. The pressure hit his skull so hard his vision flashed white. Harry groaned, and the sound came out ugly. Pomfrey shouted, Albus! Dumbledore stepped back immediately, shock flickering across his face before he smothered it. Harry panted, sweat breaking out on his forehead. Stop asking. Dumbledore's eyes were wide for a fraction of a second. Snape's mouth curled like he had just been proven right about something he hated. Hermione whispered, barely audible, it reacts to half-truths. Ron stared at Dumbledore, then at Harry, then at the spear, looking like his brain was trying to climb out of his skull. Dumbledore's voice was still gentle, but it had changed. It was careful now. Harry, my apologies. I did not intend to harm you. Harry stared at him, breathing hard. The spear hummed, not satisfied, not angry, just present. Pomfrey shoved herself between Dumbledore and the bed. Out. All of you. He needs rest. If anyone speaks to him again tonight, I will personally hex them into next week. Ron blinked. Madame Pomfrey, you can't. Pomfrey glared. Try me. Ron shut his mouth. Hermione hesitated, then leaned closer to Harry, voice trembling. Harry, please just sleep. We'll figure it out. We will. Harry wanted to believe her. He did not have the energy to say it. Ron hovered, eyes glossy. Mate, I'm sorry. I didn't know it was that bad. Harry's eyelids felt like they weighed a ton. Ginny was on another bed, curled up, still crying quietly into her pillow while Mrs. Weasley clung to her hand. Mr. Weasley stood stiffly beside them, face pale. Harry's throat tightened again. He looked away, because looking at Ginny reminded him of the diary, the chamber, the way Tom had smiled. Hermione straightened and wiped her face with the back of her sleeve. Come on, Ron. Ron hesitated. Harry managed. Go. Ron swallowed and nodded. Yeah. All right. They left. Footsteps fading. Snape lingered. Pomfrey snapped. Severus. Snape did not move for a moment. He stared at the spear like it was an insult to his world. Then he looked at Harry, eyes dark. If you start believing you are a god, Potter, I will be the first to cut you down. Harry's voice came out very small. I don't want this. Snape's gaze flickered. For the smallest moment, his face did something that might have been pity. Then it was gone. Snape swept out. Dumbledore was the last one at the door. He looked back at Harry, eyes unreadable now. Rest, Dumbledore said softly. We will speak when you are stronger. Harry wanted to say something. He wanted to ask if Dumbledore was going to take the spear from him in his sleep. He wanted to ask if he was going to be locked up. Harry's mouth opened. The spear hummed. Harry's head throbbed again, pressure building, like it did not want lies in this room, not from anyone. Harry swallowed and said nothing. Dumbledore's gaze lingered on the spear one more time. Fear again, quick and controlled. Then he turned and left. Pomfrey returned to Harry's bedside, muttering and moving briskly. She pressed another potion to his lips. Drink. Do not argue. Harry drank. Tasted like bitter smoke. Pomfrey checked his pulse, frowned, then checked it again, eyes narrowing. Your heart is too slow, then too fast, then slow again. Basilisk venom does not behave like this. Harry's voice was hoarse. It hurts. Pomfrey's face softened. Just a little. I know. She waved her wand and a cooling sensation spread over the wound, but it did not reach the deepest pain. The deepest pain felt like the cold inside his bones. The spear's cold, sitting in him like a second spine. Pomfrey adjusted the blankets. Try to sleep. Harry stared at the ceiling. His fingers still would not release the spear. He could feel it, not in a magical sense like a wand, but like a presence. Like someone standing beside his bed in the dark. Harry's eyelids fluttered. He tried to sleep. The moment his mind started to drift, the visions returned. The tree again, massive, impossible, roots twisting through stone. Ravens calling. Wolves running through snow. A hall full of warriors and laughter that sounded like thunder. A man with one eye looking at Harry like he could see straight through him. Harry jerked awake with a gasp, sweat cold on his skin. The hospital wing was quiet. Moonlight slanted through the windows. Someone snored softly in the far bed. Harry's heart hammered. The spear hummed, low and steady. Harry's arm burned. The wound looked pale in the moonlight, too pale, like the life had been drained out around it. He turned his head slightly. Dumbledore stood at the end of the ward. Harry froze. Dumbledore was not near enough for Pomfrey to notice. He stood in the shadow, hands folded, face calm. But his eyes were on the spear, not on Harry. Harry's breath went shallow. Dumbledore took a step forward, slow, careful, like he was approaching a sleeping animal. Harry's grip tightened without him meaning to. The spear went colder. The air in the hospital wing changed. The smell of clean linen faded for a second, replaced by storm air and damp earth. Dumbledore stopped. He did not look surprised. He looked resigned. Harry's voice came out rough and low. What are you doing? Dumbledore's eyes lifted to Harry at last. Checking on you. Harry swallowed. You're lying. The words fell out before he could stop them. Dumbledore's expression flickered. The spear hummed. The pressure hit Harry's skull again, sharp and punishing, and he gasped, gripping the bed with his free hand. Dumbledore's gaze sharpened. He stepped back immediately. Harry! Harry panted, eyes watering. Stop! Dumbledore's voice was quiet. I did not mean to hurt you. Harry's throat tightened. He stared at Dumbledore, and he could not make his brain form the polite answer. He could not pretend. The spear hummed again, like it was waiting. Dumbledore's eyes moved to the spear, then to Harry's face. His voice stayed soft, but it carried a weight that made Harry's stomach turn. Harry, Dumbledore said, we will need to talk about what you have brought into this school. Harry whispered, barely audible. I didn't bring it. It brought itself. Dumbledore did not deny it. He looked at the spear like it was a problem that had finally chosen a side. Then Dumbledore turned and walked away into the dark, robes whispering over the stone floor. Harry lay there, shaking. The spear hummed, steady in his hand. In the moonlight, the runes on the shaft looked almost like they were moving. Harry's eyes burned. He did not know what scared him more, the fact that he could not let go, or the fact that, for the first time, Dumbledore looked at him like Harry might be the thing that needed to be stopped. Harry woke to light cutting across his bed like a cage. Not sunlight, spell light. Thin lines that hummed in the air and made his teeth ache. They ran from the floor to the ceiling in a neat grid around him, bright enough to sting his eyes. He tried to sit up, and the lines flickered, as if they noticed. His left arm throbbed under the blanket. The basilisk bite felt wrong. Not just pain. Pain was simple. This was cold pressure, like someone had packed snow into his veins and then lit it on fire from the inside. His right hand still gripped the spear. He had fallen asleep holding it and woken up holding it, and the worst part was that his fingers did not feel tired. They felt locked, like his hand had been decided for him. Harry swallowed. His throat was dry, and his tongue felt thick. There were voices near the far end of the hospital wing. Low, controlled. Adults trying not to panic. Madame Pomfrey's voice snapped, sharp with fear hidden under bossiness. You cannot put ward lines through my ward. I will not have my patients lit up like Christmas trees because you lot cannot keep your hands to yourselves. A calmer voice answered, gentle but firm. Dumbledore. Poppy, I understand. But this is not an ordinary cursed object. It is in my hospital, Pomfrey shot back. That makes it my problem. And my problem is that my patient is 12 and poisoned. Harry's stomach twisted. 12. Hearing it out loud made him feel smaller, like everyone had a reason to treat him like a child and he had no way to argue back. Another voice cut in colder. Snape, if the object is anchoring him, then your potions will not behave normally. It will twist everything you do. Pomfrey hissed. Do not lecture me about potions in my hospital wing. Snape made a sound that was not quite a laugh. Harry stared at the spell lines around his bed. The cage hummed again, louder now, like it could hear him thinking. He tried to shift his legs. The air pushed back. Not a wall, not a force field. A pressure that told his body no. Harry's heart sped up. He breathed in, and the cold scent hit him again. Ozone, damp earth, storm air. It did not belong here. It did not belong in sheets and clean stone and Madame Pomfrey's lemon polish. The spear hummed in his hand, low and steady, like it was pleased with the cage. Harry's jaw clenched. He looked to the right. Ginny's bed was still there, but the curtains were pulled around it. He could hear muffled voices behind them. Mrs. Weasley talking softly. Mr. Weasley too, lower and broken. Ginny making small sounds that might have been crying or might have been trying not to. Harry's throat tightened. He wanted to see her, to say something, to make sure she was really alive and not just a dream he had to wake up from again. He tried to move. The cage hummed and the air pushed back harder. Harry's breathing went fast. Stop, he whispered. Not sure who he was talking to. The cage. The adults. The spear. The spear did not care. Footsteps approached. Dumbledore appeared at the end of Harry's bed. Robes neat, face calm. But his eyes were sharp, and they went straight to the spear like it was a snake on the sheets. McGonagall was with him, lips pressed tight. Flitwick stood a little behind, looking anxious and curious at the same time. Snape drifted in last, like a shadow that did not want to be there but would not leave. Pomfrey shoved past them all, wand in hand, eyes narrowed. He is awake. Be quick. Be gentle. And if he so much as winces, I will hex you all. McGonagall said. Poppy. Pomfrey snapped. Minerva. Harry stared up at them, heart hammering. The cage lines reflected in Dumbledore's glasses like thin white knives. Dumbledore's voice was soft. Good morning, Harry. Harry tried to speak and realized his mouth was too dry for it. He swallowed once, twice. Morning. Snape's eyes flicked to the spear. It is still there. Harry's grip tightened without him meaning to. McGonagall's voice was tight. Mr. Potter, you have given us all quite a night. Harry did not answer. He did not know what to say to that. Sorry I nearly died again felt stupid. Flitwick stepped closer, small hands folded. The warding around you is a precaution, Harry. Only that. We are not trying to frighten you. Harry looked at the lines again. Looks like a cage. Pomfrey sucked in a breath, irritated. It is not a cage, Mr. Potter, it is a safety net. Stop staring at it like it is personally insulting you and let me check your arm. Harry's eyes snapped to Pomfrey. He was relieved she was here. Pomfrey did not look at him like a weapon. Pomfrey looked at him like a patient and an idiot. Pomfrey reached for his left arm. The spear hummed. The cage lines brightened. Pomfrey froze, then glared at Dumbledore. Do you see this? Do you see it reacting? It is reacting to me touching him. Dumbledore nodded slowly. Yes. Pomfrey leaned in anyway, stubborn, and rolled up Harry's sleeve. The bite marks were still there, but the skin around them looked worse in daylight. Pale gray, cold, like frostbite, except it sat too neatly around the punctures, as if something had drawn a circle and told the damage to stay within it. Pomfrey's face tightened. That is not healing, Snape said quiet. It is containment. Pomfrey shot him a look. Containment still kills if it rots. Harry's stomach dropped. Am I dying? Pomfrey looked at him sharply. Then her expression softened. A little. Not if I have anything to say about it. Drink this. She pressed a goblet into his free hand. His free hand shook so hard the goblet rattled. Dumbledore's gaze flicked to the tremor, then back to the spear. Harry drank. The potion was bitter and burned his throat. His eyes watered. He swallowed it anyway because Pomfrey was watching him like she would force it down him with her wand if she had to. Pomfrey took the goblet back, satisfied in a grim way. All right, now do not move. Harry stared at her. I can't. Pomfrey paused. She looked at his right hand, still locked around the spear. Yes, I noticed. McGonagall's voice shook, just slightly. Albus. He cannot keep that in the hospital wing. Harry's head snapped up. I can't let go. I heard you, McGonagall said, tone clipped. That does not change what must be done. Flitwick added gently. It is influencing the ward. It is influencing the air around him. The magic signature is not Hogwarts. It is older, stranger. Snape's lip curled. Call it what it is. It is not wizard magic at all. Harry swallowed. Then what is it? Dumbledore inhaled slowly. His voice stayed calm, but it felt careful now, like he was walking on ice. We do not know for certain, but the name you spoke last night is significant. Harry's stomach turned. Gungnir. Flitwick flinched at the sound. Not fear exactly. More like the word carried weight. McGonagall looked at Dumbledore. Albus. Dumbledore did not look away from Harry. Harry, I need to ask you to cooperate with us. Harry stared. I can't let go. I know, Dumbledore said softly. But there are other forms of cooperation. We can move you to a safer location. Somewhere we can ward properly. Somewhere we can study this without endangering other students. Pomfrey snapped. He is not leaving my care. Dumbledore's gaze stayed polite. He will remain under your care, Poppy. You will attend him in my office if needed. Pomfrey looked like she might throw her wand at his head. Harry's heart sped up again. Your office, McGonagall said. Headmaster's office is secure, like a cell. Harry's mouth went dry again. I didn't do anything wrong. Dumbledore's voice was gentle. No one is accusing you, Harry. The spear hummed. Harry felt a cold pressure crawl up his wrist. He did not understand it, but he felt it. Like the spear was listening. Like it disliked that sentence. Harry's eyes narrowed. You are. Dumbledore blinked once. Harry. Harry's skull tightened. A pressure behind his eyes. It was not like the scar. It was different. More direct. Like someone was pressing a finger into his brain and trying to make him look at something. Harry's breath hitched. He clutched the bedsheet with his left hand. Pomfrey snapped. Stop it. Whatever you are doing. Stop. Dumbledore's brows drew together. I am not doing anything. The pressure spiked. Harry groaned. The sound ugly and involuntary. Flitwick stepped forward. Alarmed. Headmaster. The resonance is increasing. Snape's eyes narrowed. He is reacting to the words. McGonagall's gaze flicked between Dumbledore and Harry, suddenly wary. Albus, what exactly are you asking him to do? Dumbledore's voice stayed calm, but Harry saw something in his eyes. Calculation. A plan forming and tightening. Harry, Dumbledore said. I am asking you to trust me. Harry's stomach twisted. Trust me. That simple phrase felt like a hand trying to close around his throat. The spear hummed, deeper, colder. Harry's skull tightened again. He felt tears prick his eyes, not from sadness, from pain. Stop, Harry gasped. Stop saying it like that. Dumbledore stepped back half a pace, surprise flickering. Harry, you are hurting yourself. Harry laughed once, sharp and joyless. No, you are. Dumbledore's jaw tightened. Only for a moment. Then he smoothed it away. We will speak later. For now, we must move you. Pomfrey snapped. No, McGonagall said. Poppy, please. Pomfrey planted herself at the bed. He is a child. He has been bitten by a basilisk. He has a cursed spear stuck to his hand. And you want to parade him through corridors because you are frightened of something you cannot control. Dumbledore's gaze held hers. Yes, the honesty of it landed like a slap. Harry stared. The spear hummed once. Not angry, not pleased, just acknowledging the truth. Pomfrey's mouth pressed into a thin line. She looked at Harry, and something in her face softened again. Harry, can you walk? Harry tried to lift his legs. His knees shook. He swallowed. Maybe, Pomfrey sighed, defeated in a furious way. Then we walk. Slowly. No hovering. No dragging. And if he collapses, we stop. Dumbledore nodded. Snape's eyes stayed on the spear like it offended him personally. Harry's heart beat too fast. His left arm throbbed, cold and hot at once. His right hand felt like a block of ice around the spear. They dropped the cage lines as soon as Harry swung his legs off the bed. The air felt easier, but the moment the cage vanished, the spear hummed again, and the cold in his wrist rose like it had been waiting. Harry stood, his legs nearly folded. McGonagall caught his left elbow. Her grip was firm, but her voice was quiet, not teacher sharp, more human. Careful, Harry nodded, swallowing hard. Pomfrey hovered like a hawk. Do not faint. If you faint, I will be furious. Harry tried to smile. It did not work. They moved through the hospital wing. Students stared from beds. Whispers followed him like gnats. He kept his gaze down and focused on the floor, on moving one foot and then the other. The spear tip pointed forward like it knew where it wanted to go. Dumbledore walked just ahead. Snape stayed to Harry's right, close enough that Harry could smell him, that bitter potion smell clinging to his robes. McGonagall stayed on Harry's left. Flitwick trailed behind, wand ready, eyes darting. Halfway to the stairs, Harry heard a running step. Harry! Hermione slammed into view like a storm, hair wild, eyes red. Ron followed, pale and breathless, like he had sprinted the whole way. Hermione stopped short when she saw the spear. Her face went white. You have it. Ron stared too, mouth slightly open. Bloody hell, Pomfrey snapped. No swearing in front of your sister, Mr. Weasley. Ron blinked. Sorry. Hermione stepped closer to Harry, voice shaking. Are you all right? Harry wanted to tell her yes just to make her stop looking like she might break. He could not. No, Harry said. Hermione's throat bobbed. I'm sorry. I should have come sooner. I was with Ginny and Mom, and then Professor McGonagall said you were being moved, and I thought they were going to lock you up. Harry stared at her. The spear hummed. Hermione flinched at the sound. Ron looked at Dumbledore. Sir, what's going on? Dumbledore's voice was gentle. We are taking Harry to my office. For safety. Hermione's eyes narrowed. For safety or for control. McGonagall's grip tightened on Harry's elbow. Not painful but firm. Like a warning. Dumbledore's gaze stayed calm. Both, Hermione. Hermione swallowed. That is not reassuring. Harry's skull tightened again. Pressure behind his eyes. He looked at Dumbledore. You are going to try to take it. Dumbledore did not deny it. He did not confirm it. He simply said, we will do what we must to keep you and others safe. The pressure spiked. Harry sucked in a sharp breath. His vision flashed white for a split second. Hermione saw it. Her face changed. Harry, are you all right? Harry tried to breathe through it. He is dodging. Hermione blinked. What? Harry's voice came out rough. When he dodges, it hurts. Dumbledore's eyes sharpened. Harry, the spear hummed, low and steady, like it approved of the accusation. Snape's voice cut in soft and vicious. How interesting, Pomfrey snapped. Stop talking and keep walking before he passes out. Ron shifted closer, anxious. Mate, are you sure? You might just, be stressed. You nearly died. Again. Hermione shot him a look. Ronald, do not dismiss him. Ron flushed. I'm not dismissing him. I'm just saying it's not like he is in top form, is he? Harry stared at Ron. He did not have the energy to argue. He just nodded once because yes, he was not in top form, and it made him feel even worse that he might be wrong. They started moving again. Hermione walked on Harry's left now, squeezing in between Pomfrey and McGonagall like she could physically block the world from hurting him. Ron hovered on Harry's right, watching the spear like it might bite him. The stairs to the headmaster's office felt longer than they should. Every step made Harry's arm throb. His hand kept getting colder. At the gargoyle, Dumbledore spoke the password. The stone slid aside. Harry hated that his stomach dropped at the sound of it. Like entering that tower meant he had crossed a line. They rose in the spiral staircase. Portrait eyes watched them as they passed, whispers curling along the walls. Harry's skull kept tightening and loosening, like the pressure was testing him. Dumbledore stepped out first into the circular office. The room smelled like old books and lemon drops and something warm, like a fire had been burning for hours. Fawkes sat on his perch, head tilted, watching Harry with bright eyes. The moment Harry crossed the threshold, the spear hummed. The room answered, not with light, not with sound, but with a subtle shift in the air. Like something in the office noticed the spear and became alert. Harry's skin prickled. Hermione whispered, "Do you feel that?" Ron swallowed. "Yeah." Dumbledore's voice stayed calm. "Please, sit." Harry looked at the chair. It was soft, cushioned, friendly. He did not trust it. McGonagall guided him anyway. Harry sank into the chair, legs shaking. Pomfrey stayed close, wand ready. Snape leaned against the wall, arms crossed. Flitwick perched on a small stool, eyes fixed on the spear. Hermione stood right in front of Harry, like a shield. Ron stood just behind her shoulder, chewing his lip. Dumbledore sat behind his desk. Harry's stomach twisted at the sight. Dumbledore behind the desk looked like a judge. The office felt suddenly less warm. Dumbledore folded his hands. "Harry, I will ask you questions. You will answer as best you can. If you feel pain, you will tell us." Harry stared at him. "You already know it hurts." Dumbledore's gaze held his. "Then tell me when it changes." Harry's head throbbed. "Fine." Hermione's voice was tight. "What is the point of this?" Dumbledore looked at her. "Information. Understanding. If we do not understand, we cannot protect." Hermione snapped. "Protect who?" Dumbledore's gaze did not flicker. "Everyone." The spear hummed. Harry's skull tightened again, pressure behind his eyes. It was not as bad as earlier, but it was there. Harry sucked in a breath. "That is still dodging." Ron whispered. "Harry, come off it." Hermione turned on Ron. "Do not tell him what he is feeling." Ron flushed. "I'm not. I'm just saying he is pushing Dumbledore like Dumbledore is lying." "He is not." Harry stared at Ron. The spear hummed again, colder this time. The pressure behind Harry's eyes spiked, and he flinched. His hands shook. His left hand clenched the chair arm. Hermione's voice softened, urgent. "Harry, breathe, breathe." Harry tried. The air felt sharp in his lungs. Dumbledore watched him, face calm, and it made Harry angry in a way he did not like. Calm like this was an experiment, and Harry was the thing being tested. Dumbledore said gently, "Harry, tell me exactly what happened after you destroyed the diary." Harry swallowed. "We got out. The tunnel shifted. Roots. A barrow. The spear was there." Dumbledore nodded once. "And you touched it." Harry's jaw tightened. "Yes." The spear hummed, satisfied. "No pressure." Dumbledore's eyes narrowed slightly. "Did it speak?" Harry blinked. "No." The spear hummed. "Still no pressure." Harry frowned. "Not in words." Dumbledore's gaze sharpened. "Then how?" Harry swallowed. "Images. Feelings. Like it knew what I was and it was looking through me. Hermione shivered. That is awful, Ron muttered. That is mental, Hermione snapped. It is not mental. It is magical. Ron opened his mouth. Hermione cut him off. And if you say it is probably just stress, I will hex you. Ron shut his mouth and looked slightly offended anyway. Dumbledore said, Harry, you said the name. Gungnir. Harry nodded, swallowing hard. It came into my head. Dumbledore leaned forward, just slightly. Did any other names come? Harry stared at him. The spear hummed, low. Harry's skull tightened. Dumbledore's voice stayed gentle. Harry, this matters. Harry's breath hitched. You already know what it is. The pressure spiked. Harry groaned, gripping the chair. Hermione turned on Dumbledore, furious. Headmaster, stop. You are doing it again. Dumbledore blinked, then leaned back. I am not. Harry's vision flashed white again. He gasped, biting back a shout. Pomfrey moved instantly, pressing a cool cloth to Harry's forehead. Enough. Snape's voice was low. You asked a question you did not need answered. That is why it reacted. Dumbledore's eyes flickered. Severus. Snape's gaze was sharp. He is not stupid. The spear is not stupid. It punishes the shape of deceit. Hermione whispered. It is a truth weapon. Flitwick murmured. A resonance artifact. Ron said. It is a spear. Hermione shot him a look so sharp it could have cut stone. Ronald. Ron held up his hands. I am just saying. It is literally a spear. How is it doing all that? Harry swallowed. The pressure eased slowly as Dumbledore stayed quiet. Harry stared at Dumbledore. You wanted me to say something so you could confirm it. Dumbledore's voice was soft. Yes, the spear hummed, satisfied. Harry hated that. He hated that the spear seemed to like honest admissions, even when the honesty felt cruel. Hermione breathed out, shaky. So he was right. Ron stared at Dumbledore, then at Harry. So you were right. Harry's throat tightened. You were going to take it. Dumbledore's eyes stayed on him. If it is dangerous, yes. Harry's skull tightened again, but less. Dumbledore had said it straight. Harry's voice came out rough. And if I say no? Dumbledore paused. Harry felt the pressure begin before Dumbledore even spoke. Like the spear sensed the hesitation. Dumbledore said gently. Then we will have to decide what to do. The pressure slammed into Harry's skull. Harry jerked, hand flying to his temple, teeth clenched. Hermione shouted, Stop talking like that. Dumbledore went still. He looked almost pained. Harry, I am trying to speak carefully. Harry laughed once, bitter. You are speaking like I am a problem. The spear hummed, colder. Harry's left arm throbbed. The basilisk bite pulsed with cold pain. Pomfrey said, Fierce. He is a child. Dumbledore's eyes flickered, and for a moment the calm slipped. He is a child holding something that should not exist in this world. The honesty landed heavy. The pressure eased because truth eased it. Harry stared at Dumbledore and felt something crack in him. Hermione looked at Harry, and her eyes were wet. Harry, listen. He is scared. We are all scared. That does not mean he wants to hurt you. Ron nodded quickly. Yeah, exactly. We just need to, sort it. Harry stared at Ron. Sort it by taking it. Ron flinched. Sort it by making sure you do not die. Harry's jaw tightened. I already nearly died. I handled it. Hermione snapped. You are not handling it now. You are shaking. Harry's fingers clenched the chair arm. I am shaking because it hurts and because everyone is staring at me like I am the monster in the pipes. Ron's face went pale. That's not fair. Harry's voice rose. Is it not? Hermione's eyes flashed. Harry, lower your voice, Harry snapped. Do not tell me what to do. Hermione blinked like he had slapped her. Ron stepped closer, angry and hurt. Mate, she is trying to help you. Harry stared at them both. His chest felt tight. His heart was racing. The spear hummed low like it could taste the tension. Dumbledore's voice cut in firm now. Enough. Harry, you will answer my questions, and we will resolve this. Harry's skull tightened again. Not the spear this time. Just anger. Harry forced his voice down. Ask. Dumbledore's gaze held him. Did the diary contain a fragment of Voldemort? Hermione went still. Ron inhaled sharply. Harry swallowed. Yes, the spear hummed, satisfied. No pressure. Dumbledore's eyes sharpened. How did you know? Harry's stomach turned. Because it was him. Not all of him, but him. And because the spear reacted when I said it was a part. Dumbledore's fingers tightened together. Did the diary tell you about others? Harry blinked. No, the spear hummed, neutral. Dumbledore leaned forward again. Harry, there are matters in my care that I cannot speak of fully without risk. The pressure started. Harry's eyes widened. There it is. Dumbledore stopped, jaw tightening. He leaned back again, breathing out slowly. Hermione whispered, He cannot dodge around it. Snape's voice was like a blade. He does not like that. Dumbledore's gaze flicked to Snape, sharp. Severus. Snape did not look away. It is not loyalty that binds him to you. It is ignorance. You have kept him ignorant. Now the spear punishes the habit. Harry stared at Snape, surprised. Snape did not look at him. He looked at Dumbledore. Hate and frustration braided together. Dumbledore's voice went softer. Harry, I will tell you one thing. Only one for now. Voldemort has torn his soul. Not once. More. Harry felt cold spread in his stomach. How many? Dumbledore hesitated. The pressure began again, sharp. Harry winced. Stop. Do not. Just say it or do not. Dumbledore's eyes narrowed. I do not know the exact number. The pressure eased because that was honest. Harry stared. You do not know. Dumbledore shook his head once. No. Hermione's voice was tense. Then what do you want from Harry? Dumbledore said. Clues. Anything he saw. Anything the spear shows him. Anything that leads us to the remaining fragments. Harry's hand tightened around the spear. The spear hummed, faint and cold. Harry whispered, So I am a tool. Ron snapped. No. Hermione whispered. Harry. Harry's voice rose again, raw. Yes, I am. I am the boy who lived, so I am useful. I am the boy with the spear, so I am dangerous. You want me in a room where you can watch me and use me. Dumbledore's face tightened. Harry, that is not true. The pressure slammed into Harry's skull so hard he gasped. Pomfrey swore, sharp and angry. Albus. Dumbledore froze, shock flickering. He had meant it. That was the problem. He had meant it, and the spear punished him anyway because the sentence was not fully true. Harry panted, eyes watering. Stop lying. Stop saying it like you are not doing that. Hermione stepped forward, hands clenched. Headmaster, you are making this worse. Dumbledore's voice went quiet, restrained. Then tell me, Hermione, what would you do? Hermione swallowed. She looked at Harry's hand, at the way his fingers would not open. She looked at his arm, pale around the bite. Her voice shook. I would figure out how to separate him from it without killing him. The spear hummed. Harry's skull tightened slightly, but not like pain. More like attention. Hermione blinked. It likes that, Flitwick whispered. It responds to intention, Snape muttered. Or it responds to obedience. Harry's jaw tightened. I am not obeying it. The spear hummed again. Harry's heart hammered. Stop. Dumbledore's gaze sharpened. Harry, the spear is influencing you. Harry snapped. You are influencing me. Hermione stepped between them. Enough. We need a plan. Ron nodded fast. Yes, plan. Good. Plans are, better than whatever this is. Hermione took a shaky breath and spoke like she was forcing her brain to stay steady. It is runic. Not wizard runes exactly, but still runes. If it is binding him through a rune logic, then we might be able to create a counterbinding. Not to take it from him, but to stop it from hurting him, to stop it from locking his hand, and to stop it from punishing him when people talk. Harry stared at her. You want to bind it. Hermione's eyes flashed. I want to bind the effect. There is a difference. Ron said, Hermione. That was actually a good sentence. Hermione shot him a look. Thank you. Please be quiet. Ron shut his mouth but still looked impressed. Dumbledore's gaze stayed on Hermione. Continue. Hermione swallowed. If we anchor it to Hogwarts wards, we could dampen it. Like putting a wild animal in a pen. Not a cage. A stabilizer. Harry's stomach twisted. Pen. Stabilizer. It still sounded like locking him up. The spear hummed, and Harry felt the cold rise. Harry's voice came out tight. You want to make it easier to control me? Hermione flinched. No. I want to make it easier to keep you alive. Ron nodded fast. Yes, that. Harry stared at Ron. You are on their side. Ron looked hurt. I am on your side. Harry's voice rose. Then why do you keep agreeing with them? Ron's face reddened. Because I do not want you dead, you idiot. Hermione snapped. Ronald. Not like that. Ron swallowed, voice shaking. Sorry. I just saw you come out of that hole holding a spear that would not let go. You looked like you were going to collapse. You still do. And now you are yelling at Hermione and Dumbledore like they are trying to kill you. They are not. Harry stared at Ron and felt something heavy settle in his chest. Hermione's voice softened. Harry, please, let us try. If it hurts you, if it makes it worse, we stop. You have my word. Harry's mouth was dry. He looked at Hermione. Hermione, who had stayed up for him, who had nearly cried when she saw him, who was still here even now. He wanted to trust her. He did not trust the room. He did not trust Dumbledore behind the desk. He did not trust the way Snape watched him like he was waiting for him to snap. Harry swallowed. What do you need? Hermione breathed out. Relief and fear mixed. Time. Chalk. Silver ink. A steady surface. And you have to hold the spear still. Harry almost laughed. I cannot do anything else. Flitwick stood up. I can provide the materials. Dumbledore nodded once. Do it. Pomfrey snapped. Do it gently. And if he so much as spikes a fever, I stop it. Dumbledore's gaze stayed calm. Agreed. Hermione moved fast, grabbing parchment from the desk and flipping it over to the blank side. She set it on the floor, then took the silver ink Flitwick produced and began drawing. Her hand shook at first, then steadied as she focused. Harry watched, and his head throbbed in a different way now. Not pain, just the sense that the spear was paying attention. Hermione drew a circle, then runic shapes around it. She did not copy the spear runes exactly. She built a mirror logic using what she knew, trying to make a net without becoming a cage. Ron crouched beside her, watching. Those are runes, Hermione said. Yes, Ron said. You are really good at this. Hermione did not look up. I am trying not to kill Harry. Stop flirting with my study habits. Ron choked. I was not flirting. Harry stared at them. Even now, even in this horrible situation, they were still them. It made something twist in his chest. Hermione finished the last symbol and sat back, breathing hard. All right, Dumbledore said. Harry, place the spear tip in the center. Harry's fingers tightened. The spear hummed. Harry swallowed. I do not think it will like that. Dumbledore's voice was gentle. We will find out together. The pressure started again behind Harry's eyes, small at first, then sharper. Harry flinched. Stop talking like that. Dumbledore went still. He took a slow breath. Very well. Harry, please place the spear tip in the center. If you refuse, we cannot attempt this. The pressure eased because the sentence was clear. Harry hated that he could feel it. Harry swallowed and leaned forward, moving the spear tip down toward Hermione's circle. The moment the spear head hovered above the ink, the runes on the shaft flared. Cold slammed through Harry's hand up to his elbow. Harry gasped, jaw clenched. Hermione's eyes widened. Harry, are you all right? Harry forced a nod, teeth clenched. Do it. Now. Hermione reached out, not touching the spear, but placing her palm just outside the circle. She spoke softly, voice shaking, trying to give the runes intention. Anchor. Stabilize. Do not harm. The spear hummed like a growl. The air in the office shifted. Fawkes screamed from his perch, wings flaring. The portraits on the walls stirred, whispers rising. Flitwick lifted his wand. Alarmed. Headmaster. The resonance is escalating. Snape's voice was sharp. Stop it. Dumbledore stood. Hermione. Hermione's face went pale, but she did not move. If we stop now, it might lash out. Harry's skull tightened. Pressure building. Not the spear punishing words. The spear pushing back against being restrained. Harry's left arm burned. The bite throbbed, cold and hot in a sick pulse. Ron's voice shook. Hermione, maybe stop, Hermione snapped. Do not tell me to stop in the middle of it, Ron. Ron flinched. I am just trying to not die today. Harry felt the spear tilt in his grip, trying to pull away from the circle. His fingers ached. His wrist burned with cold. He clenched harder, fighting it. His voice came out strained, short. No, the spear hummed, furious. The runes on the shaft flashed. And for a split second Harry's vision snapped away from the office and into snow and storm. He saw the one-eyed man again, calm, watching, and Harry felt something in his chest answer. Cold agreement. A bargain without words. Harry's breath hitched. Then the office snapped back. Hermione's circle flared silver. The spear jerked. Harry's arm slammed forward like it had been yanked by a chain. The spear tip struck the center of the circle. The ink ignited, not fire. Light. Cold light that spread across the parchment like frost. Hermione gasped. Ron shouted, Blimey. Flitwick whispered, It is working. Harry's skull eased, just slightly. The pressure that had been building stopped climbing. For half a heartbeat, Harry felt his fingers loosen. Not fully, but a little. Harry's breath caught. It is letting go. Hermione's eyes flashed with hope. Good. Hold still. Dumbledore's gaze sharpened. Harry, release it. Harry tried. His fingers opened a fraction. The spear hummed, low, cold. Harry's skull tightened again. Pressure spiked. Harry gasped, eyes watering. I can't. It is not letting me. Dumbledore's voice went firm. Harry, you must try. Harry stared at him. Panicked now. Stop. Stop telling me like I can just do it. The pressure slammed into his skull, sharp, punishing. Harry groaned, shoulders hunching. Hermione shouted, Headmaster, stop. You are pushing him. Dumbledore's jaw tightened. Hermione, I am trying to save him. The spear hummed. The pressure did not ease. Harry's vision blurred. He felt something snap inside him, noticeably. Not a bone. A line. He stared at Dumbledore. You are lying. Dumbledore froze. Hermione's breath caught. Ron whispered, Harry, mate. Harry's voice came out raw. You are trying to save the school. Save the world. Not me. Not really. Not if you have to break me to do it. Dumbledore's eyes flashed, then softened. Harry, the spear hummed again. And now the pressure eased because Harry's accusation had hit the truth. Dumbledore's face looked older for a moment. I am trying to do both. Harry laughed once, bitter. You cannot. Snape's voice was cold. And there it is. McGonagall stepped forward, furious. Severus. Snape did not care. He is already turning. That spear is turning him. Hermione snapped. He is not turning. He is frightened. You lot are frightening him. Dumbledore's gaze held Harry's. Harry, if you will not release it, we must take other measures. The pressure began again behind Harry's eyes. Sharp. Harry's mouth went dry. Other measures. Dumbledore's voice stayed gentle, but Harry heard the edge. Binding measures. Containment. If necessary, sedation. Pomfrey snapped. I will not drug him for your convenience. Dumbledore's gaze did not flicker. For his safety. Harry felt the pressure spike again, and this time it did not just hurt. It made him angry. The spear hummed, hungry and cold. Harry's grip tightened hard enough his knuckles went white. Hermione's face went pale. Harry, look at me. Please, look at me. Harry forced his eyes to Hermione. Hermione's voice shook. We can stop this. We can try again later. We can do it differently. Just do not do something stupid. Ron's voice broke. Harry, please. Harry stared at them both. And in that second he realized what hurt the most. They were not choosing him. They were choosing the plan. They were choosing the adults because adults meant safety, and safety meant control, and control meant the spear in Dumbledore's hands, not Harry's. Harry's chest tightened. His breathing went fast. His head pounded. The spear hummed, like it felt the choice too. Harry's voice came out quiet, and that scared him more than shouting. You were going to help him take it. Hermione blinked hard, tears spilling. No, Harry. I was going to help you. Harry stared at her. By binding me. Hermione's mouth opened, then shut. She looked torn in half. Ron's face crumpled. Mate! We are trying to keep you alive. Harry's voice snapped, sharp. By making me powerless. Ron flinched. That is not what I said. Hermione's voice broke. Harry, it is not like that. Harry's skull tightened again. Not from half-truths. From the spear, from anger, from the cold in his blood. He felt the spear shift like it was deciding. Harry's thoughts went practical, immediate. If they sedate me, I wake up without choices. If they bind it, it hurts me until I obey. If I stay, I lose. Harry inhaled. His breath fogged. Hermione stared at him, fear growing. Harry, what are you doing? Harry did not answer. He looked down at the spear. The runes along the shaft glowed faintly. A word slipped into his mind again, sharp and clear. Rado. Road. Motion. Violent travel. Harry's heart hammered. He had no idea how he knew it. He just did. Harry's voice came out low, rough. Move. The spear hummed. The rune flared. The air cracked like thunder inside the office. Everyone jumped. Hermione screamed. Harry! Ron lunged, grabbing Harry's left shoulder. Harry felt Ron's hand, warm and desperate. He heard Ron's voice in his ear. Do not leave. Please. Harry's throat tightened. For 1 second he almost stopped. Then the pressure hit his skull again, not pain, a warning. The spear did not want hesitation. Dumbledore shouted, Stupefy. Red light shot forward. The spear hummed. The rune on the shaft flashed again, and the red light bent, sliding past Harry like it had been pushed aside by an invisible road. Flitwick shouted, Hold him. Snape moved like a knife, fast, wand lifting. McGonagall reached too, eyes wide. Hermione grabbed Harry's sleeve, crying, Stop. Harry, stop. Harry's voice came out broken. I can't. That was the truth. The spear pulled. The room warped. For a heartbeat, Harry saw the office stretch, like a painting being dragged by a hand. Portraits screamed. Fawkes shrieked, wings flaring. Harry felt Ron's hand slip. He felt Hermione's fingers tear from his sleeve. He felt a cold rush swallow him whole. Then he was gone. Harry hit stone hard and slid across it, breath knocked out of him. The spear stayed in his hand like it had nailed itself there. His vision was a blur of dark corridor, torchlight, and a window at the far end. He was somewhere in Hogwarts, but not the office. The magic felt different, less controlled, more raw. Harry coughed, tasting copper. The basilisk bite burned cold and deep. He forced himself up, shaking. Behind him, footsteps and shouts echoed, distant but rushing closer. Potter. McGonagall's voice. Harry. Hermione. Ron's voice, cracked with panic. Harry's stomach twisted. He wanted to answer. He wanted to say sorry. He did not. He ran. His legs were weak, but the spear made his senses sharp. He heard doors opening, teachers shouting, portraits calling warnings. The spear hummed, and the cold in his wrist steadied his shaking, like it was holding his bones together. Harry turned a corner too fast, slammed shoulder first into a suit of armor, and the metal clanged loudly. He swore under his breath. He ran again. A spell whistled past his ear and exploded against the wall, showering sparks. Harry flinched but kept moving. The spear hummed. The tip angled forward, as if it knew the path. Harry's breath came fast and loud. His chest burned. He burst through a doorway and found himself in a corridor that led to the front doors. Students stared. Someone screamed. A group of older kids backed away like he was contagious. Harry did not stop. He pushed through the doors and into the cold air outside. The grounds hit him like a slap. Wind, damp, gray sky, the smell of wet grass and distant lake water. Harry staggered down the steps, shoes slipping on stones slick with moisture. Behind him, the doors banged open. Dumbledore stepped out first, fast for an old man, robes snapping in the wind. McGonagall and Snape followed. Flitwick too. Hermione and Ron were behind them, faces white. Dumbledore's voice carried across the grounds, calm but sharp. Harry, stop. Harry's throat tightened. He kept moving. Dumbledore lifted his wand. The spear hummed. Harry's skull tightened, but not from pain. From warning. Harry did not know spells to block Dumbledore like this. Not like this. He only had the spear. The rune in his mind flashed again. Rado. Harry whispered. Again, the spear flared. The air cracked. Harry felt the world tug sideways. Then he was not on the steps anymore. He was farther down the grounds, near the edge of the lawn where the trees began. He staggered, nearly falling. He heard Hermione scream his name, faint and distant now, like she was miles away. Harry swallowed hard, throat tight. He ran toward the trees. The forbidden forest waited, dark and wet, branches swaying like hands. Harry did not want to go in there. He went anyway. The trees swallowed him. The air inside was colder, heavier. The ground was soft with mud, and every step threatened to pull his shoes off. Harry ran until his lungs screamed. He did not hear the adults behind him anymore, but he could feel magic searching, probing, like light sweeping through dark. The spear hummed, steady. Harry's left arm throbbed. The cold around the bite felt deeper now, like it was spreading in slow circles under his skin. Harry stumbled, catching himself on a tree trunk. His breath came in sharp gasps. He pressed his forehead to the bark for a second, eyes closed, trying not to be sick. The spear hummed. Not a warning, a pull. Harry opened his eyes and looked down at the runes. He did not understand them, but he felt the meaning like a bruise. Road. Return. Movement that does not ask permission. Harry's stomach dropped. It was not offering him a gentle escape. It was offering him exile. Harry whispered, "Horse." "Where?" The spear hummed. Harry felt the answer in his bones. Not a place name, not coordinates. Just a direction that tasted like outside. Away. Away from walls and rules and Dumbledore's hands. Harry's throat tightened again. He thought of Ron's grip slipping. Hermione's fingers tearing from his sleeve. Their faces. He swallowed hard. "I didn't want to," he whispered. The spear did not care. Behind him, somewhere far back, the forest stirred. Something moved between trunks. A centaur perhaps, or something else. Harry's heart hammered again. He could not stay. He lifted the spear slightly, the tip angled forward, and whispered the word again like a prayer he did not believe in. Rado. Thunder cracked. The world tore sideways. Harry felt cold swallow him. Then the forest vanished. He hit ground hard again, rolling on gravel. His shoulder slammed into something sharp. He groaned, clutching the spear like it was the only thing holding him together. He looked up, blinking rain from his lashes. Rain. Real rain, not Hogwarts damp. He was in an alley, narrow and filthy, stone walls close on either side. The air smelled like smoke and wet dirt and something sour. Not Hogwarts, somewhere outside. Harry's breath came fast. His chest burned. His left arm throbbed with cold pain. He tried to stand. His legs buckled. He dropped to one knee, panting, and stared at his hands. The spear was still there, still locked, still humming like a heartbeat that was not his. Harry swallowed hard, eyes burning. He whispered into the rain, "What have I done?" The spear hummed, low and steady, and deep in his bones, beneath the fear and guilt, he felt it again. Not words, a hunger, victory, always victory. Harry clenched his jaw, shaking. Somewhere at the mouth of the alley, footsteps splashed in puddles. Harry froze, breath caught, spear humming louder in his grip. A figure paused at the alley entrance, just a silhouette against the gray rain. Harry's heart hammered so hard it hurt. The silhouette tilted its head, as if listening. Then it stepped forward. Harry's back hit wet brick and his knees almost folded, but he forced them to lock anyway, because the alley had footsteps now, slow and deliberate, not the panicked scramble of someone lost in the rain. The spear was still in his fist. It did not want to be dropped. His right hand looked worse in the dim light, blackened from the wrist down in uneven patches, like the skin had given up and shrunk tight, and every time he flexed his fingers a hot sting ran up his arm and into his shoulder. He tasted metal at the back of his throat. Not blood, not exactly, more like he had bitten a coin and could not stop. The rain came down hard enough that it drowned most sounds, but not those footsteps. Not the soft scrape of a shoe turning into the alley, pausing, then stepping in fully. Harry lifted the spear without thinking, the point angled just right for someone's chest, because his body was already decided on survival and the rest of him was too tired to argue. A girl's voice cut through the rain. Potter. It was flat, no shock in it, no pity, no excitement, like she had read his name off a label. Harry's jaw tightened. He did not lower the spear. A pale shape moved closer. The hood of a cloak pushed back just enough to show a face he recognized from the Slytherin table. Always neat, always watching, never laughing too loud. Daphne Greengrass stopped a few feet away, just outside the spear's reach. Her wand was in her hand but not raised, pointed down at the ground like she was making a point without saying it. "I'm not going back," Harry said, and his voice came out rougher than he meant, like sand on stone. "I didn't ask you to," Daphne replied. That made him blink, because it was not what he expected from a Slytherin in a dark alley. She looked past his face, not at him, at the spear. Her eyes did not widen, but her breathing changed, just a tiny hitch, like she had walked into a room and realized something important was sitting there. Harry felt it too. The spear went colder. The rain hit the metal and hissed, not steam, not smoke, just a faint sound like it did not like being touched by anything it did not choose. Daphne took another careful step forward, then stopped again, like she was respecting an invisible line. "You're bleeding energy," she said, and she spoke the words like she was describing a cut on a finger. Harry swallowed. "Yeah, well, I'm fine." "That's a lie," Daphne said, still calm, and then her gaze flicked to his right hand. She did not flinch, but her mouth tightened like she had tasted something bitter. "That's necrosis." Harry's stomach rolled. He looked away from his hand, because looking at it made him feel sick and angry at the same time. "Don't," he said. "Don't what?" Daphne asked. "Don't look at me like that," Harry snapped, and he hated how thin it sounded, like he was 12 again in front of the Dursleys, trying to act tough when he was scared. Daphne's expression did not change much, but her voice softened by half a degree. "I'm not looking at you like anything," she said. She shifted her weight slightly, boots planted on wet cobbles, cloak dripping off her shoulders. "You're collapsing in Nocturne Alley with something that does not belong in Britain. People will notice." Harry laughed once, sharp and ugly. "Yeah, people noticed a lot of things. Didn't help." Daphne ignored the bitterness like she did not have time for it. "You're not here by accident," she said, and her eyes stayed on the spear. Harry's grip tightened again, the wood digging into his palm. "I didn't pick where I landed," he said. Daphne looked at him properly for the first time, as if checking whether he even understood what he was holding. "No," she agreed. "It picked." Harry's throat went dry. The spear had dragged him through storm light. It had felt like being ripped apart and stitched back together wrong. He could still feel the phantom pressure behind his eyes, like a headache waiting to happen. He shifted, trying to keep his balance. His legs shook. Daphne watched it and did not pretend she did not see. She took a small pouch from inside her cloak and held it up, palm open, showing she was not reaching for her wand again. "Do you want to die in this alley?" she asked, blunt. "Or do you want help?" Harry stared at her. In his head, Ron's voice flashed up, scared and angry, calling him dark. Hermione's voice, too calm, talking about containment like he was a dangerous spell gone wrong. Dumbledore's eyes, soft and heavy, like he was carrying a secret that was not for Harry to know, even though it was about Harry's life. Harry's heart hammered hard enough to hurt. "I don't trust you," he said. Daphne nodded once like that was fair. "You don't have to," she said, "but you do have to decide fast." As if to prove her point, a new sound slid through the rain. A laugh, low, from somewhere near the mouth of the alley. Another voice muttered something Harry could not make out. Harry's head snapped up. Daphne's wand rose slightly, not aggressive, just ready. "Someone followed you," she said. Harry's stomach dropped. He had not even thought about it. He had been too busy trying not to throw up and pass out. He tried to step forward and his right hand flared with pain, sharp enough that spots danced across his vision. He sucked in air through his teeth. Daphne's gaze flicked to his face, then to his hand again. "You have minutes," she said. Harry's voice came out quieter. "What do you want?" he asked. Daphne did not smile. "A living Potter," she said. And a spear that does not end up in the hands of someone who will burn half the country to see if it screams. Harry felt the spear pulse once, like it approved of the idea of burning things, and that scared him more than the voices at the alley mouth. Daphne stepped closer, still cautious, and held out her free hand, palm up. "I can get you out," she said. "But you do what I say for the next 10 seconds. After that, you can threaten me again if it makes you feel better." Harry's grip on the spear tightened until his fingers hurt. He hated needing anyone. He hated that he was going to say yes. He heard the voices again, closer now. Someone's silhouette blocked the faint light at the alley entrance. Harry's lungs burned. "Fine," he said, and it came out like a growl. Daphne's fingers closed around his left wrist, quick and firm. She did not touch the spear. She did not even look at it as she moved. Her wand flicked, and the rain around them shifted, like the air had thickened into a curtain. A sound like glass cracking in slow motion rolled through the alley, not loud but wrong. The figure at the entrance swore, and the swear bounced off the damp walls and came back meaner. Daphne leaned in close, her mouth near Harry's ear. "Don't fight the pull," she said. Harry barely had time to process the words before the spear went heavy, then light, then both at once. The world lurched. He tasted ozone, sharp and clean, like a lightning strike too close. His stomach dropped like he was falling from a height. Harry's fingers tried to unclench on instinct, and the spear punished him for it with a jolt up his arm, like an electric bite. He bit back a shout. The alley vanished. Rain vanished. Everything vanished into a blank, cold pressure that squeezed his chest and made his vision blur. Then the pressure released all at once. Harry stumbled, feet hitting wet grass instead of cobbles. He went down to one knee, gagged, and barely managed not to vomit. The spear's point hit the ground with a dull thud. It did not bounce. It stayed like it had claimed the earth under it. Daphne let go of his wrist but stayed close enough that he would not faceplant. Harry dragged in air, coughing. The rain here was lighter, misty and colder, and the wind smelled like pine and stone. He lifted his head and froze. A manor rose out of the gray like it had been carved from the weather itself. Not warm, not inviting, not like the burrow. This place was quiet in a way that felt expensive. Silver lanterns hung along a path, their light clean and steady, not flickering, and the windows were dark but not empty, like the house was watching. Harry swallowed hard. "Where are we?" he rasped. Daphne's voice came from above him, calm as ever. "Home," she said. Harry's laugh came out shaky. "You're home," he corrected. Daphne did not argue. She looked down at the spear, then back to Harry. "Can you walk?" she asked. Harry tried to stand and his legs wobbled. He used the spear like a cane without meaning to. The wood felt warm under his palm, like it liked being useful. "I can," he said, even though he was not sure. Daphne made a small sound that could have been approval or just acknowledgement. "Then walk," she said, and turned toward the manor without checking whether he followed, like she expected competence from him even when he was half dead. Harry hated that he did follow. Each step made his right hand throb, the dead skin pulling tight, pain cutting up his arm. His heart raced like he had just sprinted even though he was moving slow. By the time they reached the front doors, Harry's shirt clung to his back with damp and sweat, and his breathing sounded loud in the silence. The doors opened before Daphne touched them, not swinging wide like a welcome, just enough to let them in, like the house was letting them pass on probation. Inside, the air was warmer but still cool, and it smelled faintly of metal and old books and something sharp that reminded Harry of potion stores. The entrance hall was too clean, not sterile like the hospital wing, more like a museum that someone actually lived in. Silver frames on the walls held portraits that did not move much, their eyes tracking quietly. "Nu shouching, nu klatir, nu lauger." Harry's chest tightened, and to his surprise it was not panic. It was relief. Daphne led him down a corridor that swallowed sound. The carpet under Harry's shoes muffled his steps, and the spear's tip made no noise against it, because it did not drag, it just hovered a fraction above, like it refused to be treated like baggage. They reached a door and Daphne pushed it open. The room inside was small, practical, lit by a single lamp with a silver base. A table stood in the middle, clean cloth laid over it, and shelves along the wall held jars of dried herbs and little tin boxes with labels Harry could not read. Daphne shut the door behind them and finally exhaled, just once, like she had been holding her breath since nocturne. "Sit," she said, pointing to a chair beside the table. Harry sat, mostly because he did not trust his legs anymore. His hands trembled, not just the right one. The spear leaned against the table as if it belonged there, as if it had always been part of this room. Daphne set her pouch down, pulled out a small jar, and uncorked it. The smell hit Harry immediately, sharp and earthy and bitter. He gagged, then swallowed hard and forced it down. "That smells awful," he muttered. Daphne glanced at him. "It works," she said, and then added, almost like an afterthought, "And if you complain more, I'll make you drink it." Harry barked a laugh, surprised by it. It hurt his chest. "Right," he said, "because that's exactly what I need, greengrass. More things forced down my throat." Daphne's mouth tightened. "You can stop calling me by my surname," she said. "I know who I am." Harry's eyes flicked up. "What do I call you then?" he asked. Daphne hesitated for a fraction of a second, like the concept of being casual was a foreign language. "Daphne," she said. Harry swallowed. "Harry," he said back, because it felt weird not to, and because he was tired of everyone acting like his name was a weapon. Daphne's gaze dropped to his right hand again. "Show me," she said. Harry did not move. His fingers curled tighter around the spear without thinking. Daphne noticed. She did not comment. She just waited, still as stone. The silence stretched. Harry's breathing sounded too loud. Finally, he dragged his right hand onto the table and laid it palm up, and the sight of it made his stomach twist. The skin was dark, cracked in places, and the veins underneath looked wrong, too visible, too angry. Daphne reached out and took his wrist gently, fingers cool against his skin. Harry flinched anyway. "Easy," she said, and it was the first time her voice sounded like something close to kindness. She turned his hand slightly, inspecting, and her brows drew together. "This isn't just basilisk venom," she murmured. Harry's throat went tight. "I was bitten," he said, "a while ago. It should be gone. It was healed. Mostly." Daphne's eyes flicked toward the spear. "It fed on the damage," she said, like she was piecing it together out loud. "And then it kept feeding." Harry's stomach dropped again. "It's eating me," he said, and he hated how small his voice sounded. Daphne did not soften it. "Yes," she said. Harry's jaw clenched. "Brilliant," he muttered. "Just brilliant. I finally get something that can actually fight back, and it's killing me." Daphne twisted the jar in her hand, unscrewed the lid fully, and dipped 2 fingers into the salve. The paste was gray, gritty, like ash mixed with oil. She looked at Harry. "This will hurt," she said. Harry swallowed and nodded once. He tried to make his face blank, like he was bracing for a hex. Daphne placed her fingers on the blackened skin and smeared the salve across his palm. Pain slammed through him so hard he jerked in the chair, a sharp, burning bite that shot up his arm and into his shoulder. He sucked in air and his vision blurred. "Merlin," he hissed, and then bit his lip hard enough to taste blood, because he was not giving her the satisfaction of screaming. Daphne's grip tightened on his wrist, keeping him steady. "Breathe," she said, firm. Harry's chest heaved. He tried. The salve burned like fire for 3 seconds. Then the burn turned cold, deep and aching, like his bones were being dipped into winter. His fingers spasmed. His right hand trembled on the table. Daphne kept working, slow and careful, pressing the paste into the cracks, tracing along the edges of dead skin. Her touch was cool and steady, and even though it hurt, Harry realized he was not alone in the room with his pain for once. No shouting, no lectures, no one telling him to be good and hand over the thing that was keeping him alive. Just a girl in a quiet room, fixing what she could. Harry swallowed down another wave of nausea. "What is that?" he managed. Daphne did not look up. "Old salve," she said. "Family recipe. Don't ask what's in it. You'll regret it." Harry gave a weak laugh that turned into a cough. Daphne paused just long enough to let him breathe, then continued. After a minute, the blackened skin stopped looking shiny with rot and started looking dull, like the death had been forced to sit still. Harry's pain did not vanish, but it changed. It was no longer spreading. It stayed in place, contained, like someone had drawn a line around it and told it no. Harry's shoulders sagged. He realized he had been holding his breath again. Daphne lifted her fingers away and wiped them on a cloth with efficient disgust. "That's the first layer," she said. Harry stared at his hand. It still looked bad, but it looked less like it was actively trying to fall off his body. He let out a shaky exhale. "Thanks," he said, and it came out rough and reluctant, because gratitude did not sit right in his mouth lately. Daphne's eyes flicked up. "You're welcome," she said, like she was answering a question in class. Then she looked at the spear properly, finally turning her body toward it. The air in the room shifted, not physically, but Harry felt it anyway, like the spear had straightened its spine. Daphne did not touch it. She leaned in close, eyes scanning the carved lines in the wood and the metal rings wrapped around it. "They're not decorative," she murmured. Harry's mouth went dry. "I figured," he said. Daphne's gaze sharpened. "You can read them?" she asked. Harry snorted. "No," he said. "I can barely read my own homework half the time." Daphne's lips twitched, almost a smile, but it disappeared fast. "Then you're holding a contract you can't read," she said, and there was no judgment in it, just fact. Harry felt his stomach sink again. He leaned back in the chair, exhausted. "What is it?" he asked, even though he already knew the answer was going to be bad. Daphne reached into her pouch again and pulled out a thin strip of parchment and a small piece of chalk. She placed the parchment on the table beside the spear and began to sketch the shapes she saw on the wood, quick and practiced, like she had done it before. Harry watched, eyes heavy. "You're good at that," he said. Daphne shrugged. "My mother insisted," she replied, "and I didn't like being useless." Harry's laugh was short. "Must be nice," he muttered. Daphne looked up. "Nice," she repeated, tone dry. Harry regretted it instantly, because he did not want to argue with the only person who had not tried to lock him in a room and take his weapon. Daphne tapped the chalk against one of the shapes she had drawn. "This one is Ansuz," she said. Harry frowned. "That sounds like a sneeze." Daphne's eyes narrowed. "You are dying and you're making jokes," she said. Harry's mouth twisted. "It's what I do," he said. "I'm sorry if that's not proper enough for you." Daphne studied him for a moment, then nodded once. "Fine," she said. "Keep joking. Just listen." Harry's jaw tightened, but he nodded. Daphne traced her finger near the spear without touching it, as if respecting its space. "Ansuz's breath," she said. "Word, command, authority. It's associated with Odin, but that doesn't mean it's a wand spell. It's older. It's closer to a law." Harry's throat tightened again. "A law," he repeated. Daphne nodded. "This one," she said, tapping another rune, "is Gibo." She paused, like she was choosing her words carefully. "Gift," she said. "Exchange. It binds two sides. You give, you get. You break the terms. It breaks you." Harry stared at the rune, then at his hand, then back at the spear. He swallowed hard. "It's not a weapon," he said, and the words tasted wrong because it had felt like a weapon, it had felt like power. Daphne's voice was quiet. "It is a weapon," she said, "but that's not what it is first." Harry's breath came shallow. "What is it first?" he asked. Daphne met his eyes. "A contract," she said, simple. Harry sat there, rain-soaked and exhausted, and felt something inside him go cold. He thought of Dumbledore's soft voice, always guiding, always nudging, always framing things like they were choices even when they were not. He thought of the prophecy, the way everyone looked at him like he was a plan, not a person. He looked at the spear, and suddenly it felt like it was looking back. "You said it grants victory," Harry said, voice low. Daphne nodded. "In exchange," she said. Harry's mouth went dry. "For what?" he asked, even though his hand already answered. Daphne's gaze flicked to his necrotic skin again. "For you," she said. "Piece by piece, until you learn to set limits." Harry's stomach rolled. He pressed his left hand against the edge of the table, grounding himself, because his body felt like it wanted to slide out of the chair and onto the floor. "So I'm just," Harry said, and he struggled for the words, "fuel." Daphne's expression shifted, something like irritation cutting through her calm. "You're not fuel," she snapped, and it surprised him because she had been so controlled up until now. Then she took a breath, reins in her own temper, and spoke again more carefully. "You're a holder," she said, "and the spear does not care about your feelings. He cares about terms. Harry stared at her. You talk like my life is paperwork, he said, bitterness leaking out. Daphne's eyes flashed. That's because paperwork is what keeps people alive. She shot back. Contracts, wards, oaths. Everyone loves bravery until it gets them killed. My family survives because we don't confuse courage with stupidity. Harry's chest tightened. He wanted to argue. He wanted to tell her he had been brave because he had to be, because no one else ever did it for him. But the words stuck, because his right hand still hurt, because the spear was still cold, because somewhere deep down he knew she was not entirely wrong. Daphne looked away first, as if she had said more than she meant to. She gathered the parchment and the chalk and tucked them back into her pouch. Then she looked at him again and her voice was back to calm. You don't know how to use it, she said. Harry's jaw clenched. I've used it, he said, defensive. Daphne's eyebrow rose. You fled, she corrected. And now it's feeding on you because you haven't fulfilled its side. That's not using it. That's surviving it. Harry's throat went tight. He did not have a comeback. Daphne gestured toward his hand. I can slow this, she said. Not stop it. Not without understanding what you're holding. Harry's eyes narrowed. And you do, he said. Daphne hesitated just long enough for him to notice. I know enough, she said. And I know where to find the rest. Harry stared at her, suspicion crawling back up his spine. Why? He asked. Daphne's eyes did not flinch. Because if you don't learn, she said, someone else will. And they will not hesitate to point that spear at my family. Harry's stomach tightened. There it was, the real reason. Not kindness, not charity. Fear packaged as competence. Harry leaned back, exhausted. So you saved me because you want to use me, he said flat. Daphne's mouth tightened, but she did not deny it. I saved you because you were dying in my path, she said. And because leaving you there would have been stupid. You are dangerous and you're going to get worse. I'd rather know where you are. Harry let out a breath that shook. At least you're honest, he muttered. Daphne's gaze flicked to the spear, and for a moment her face looked almost grim. It won't tolerate anything else, she said. The words landed heavy. Harry stared at the spear again. He could feel it, even when it was not moving, like a pressure in the room, like a storm waiting behind a door. He thought of all the half-truths he had lived with, all the times adults had smiled and lied gently to keep him walking toward something horrible. Maybe he was tired of that. Maybe he wanted a contract he could read, even if it was brutal. A soft knock came at the door. Daphne's head lifted instantly. Come, she said. The door opened smoothly and a house elf stepped in, ears drooping slightly, hands clasped in front of its chest. It did not look at Harry directly. It looked at Daphne. Miss Daphne, it said, voice small. Master requests. Daphne nodded once. Tell him 5 minutes, she said. The elf bowed and slipped out, closing the door without a sound. Harry watched, tension crawling up his neck. Your father, he guessed. Daphne's lips pressed into a line. Yes, she said. Harry's fingers flexed around the spear. He could already feel the trap forming, the way adults stepped in when something powerful appeared and tried to shape it into their plan. I'm not signing anything, Harry said, sharp. Daphne glanced at him. You already are, she said. You just don't know the clauses. Harry's stomach dropped again. He swallowed hard. Great, he said, voice tight. So this is my life now. Contracts, clauses, people deciding what I am. Daphne's gaze held his. You can decide, she said. But you can't do it blind. Harry stared at her, then looked away, jaw clenched. The door opened again before the 5 minutes passed. A man stepped in, tall, dressed simply but with the kind of quiet authority Harry had learned to recognize. Not the loud authority of Umbridge, not the showy authority of Lockhart. This was the kind that expected obedience because it was used to receiving it without asking. He took in the room in one glance, eyes landing on Harry, then on the spear, then back to Harry. His expression did not shift much. Mr. Potter, he said, voice calm. Harry's spine stiffened. He stayed seated because standing felt like a lie right now. Hello, Harry said, rough. The man's gaze moved to Daphne. You took a risk, he said. Daphne's shoulders squared. I took an opportunity, she replied. Harry noticed the way her voice changed around him, a shade more formal, but still not submissive. The man looked at Harry again. My daughter tells me you arrived carrying something ancient, he said. Harry's grip tightened on the spear. He did not answer immediately. Daphne's voice cut in. He already knows that, she said. Don't talk around it. The man's eyes flicked to her, and for a moment Harry saw a silent exchange there. Something practiced, like father and daughter had argued like this before, and neither of them was surprised. Then the man nodded slightly. Fair, he said. He stepped closer to the table, stopping just short of the spear, mirroring Daphne's earlier caution. His gaze lingered on the metal rings. You can feel it, Harry said before he could stop himself. The man's eyes lifted. Yes, he admitted. Harry's chest tightened. Can you take it? Harry asked, voice sharp, and he hated that he needed to know. The man's mouth tightened. I could try, he said. Harry felt the spear go colder again, like it disliked even the suggestion. Daphne watched the spear like she was watching a snake coil. Don't, she said to her father, quiet but firm. The man held her gaze, then nodded once, as if he had already expected that answer. Harry's pulse hammered. So what? Harry said. You brought me here to stare at it and tell me how dangerous it is. The man's gaze stayed steady. No, he said. I brought you here because you are a child in possession of something that will draw predators, and you are injured in a way that ordinary healing will not fix. Harry's jaw clenched. I'm not a child, he snapped, then immediately hated how childish it sounded. The man did not react. You are, he said, matter of fact. And that is not an insult. It is a disadvantage. Harry's nails dug into his palm. Daphne's voice cut in again, cooler. He doesn't need a lecture, she said. He needs terms. Harry's head snapped toward her. Terms, he repeated, bitter. Daphne met his eyes and did not back down. Yes, she said. Because that's what this is. You can pretend you're free, but the spear will decide otherwise. At least with us, you get to speak. Harry's throat tightened. The man stepped back slightly, giving Harry space without saying it. My family has survived wars by making the correct deals, he said. Harry's laugh was hollow. Right? Deals, he said. Because that always ends well for me. Daphne's eyes flashed. You want to be rescued like a storybook hero? She snapped, and her control cracked again. And that's not real. You're not in a story. You're in a war that is coming whether you want it or not. Harry's chest tightened, anger and fear tangling. You don't know what I've done, he said, voice shaking. You don't know what they wanted to do to me. Daphne's gaze flicked to his hand. I can guess, she said, quieter. The man's voice stayed calm. My daughter says you are willing to learn, he said. Harry stared at him. I didn't say that, he said. Daphne's mouth twisted. You will, she said. If you want to keep your hand. Harry's stomach rolled again. The man nodded once. Then we offer you sanctuary, he said. Harry's eyes narrowed. And the price, he said. The man did not pretend otherwise. An oath, he said. Harry's grip on the spear tightened automatically. No, he said, immediate. Daphne's voice cut in sharper. Yes, she said. Because that's the point. You're holding an oath weapon. You don't get to play pretend anymore. Harry's heart hammered. He looked down at his hand, still smeared with gray paste. He looked at the spear. He looked back at Daphne. You want me to swear to protect you? He said, voice tight. Daphne's gaze held his. My family, she corrected. Harry's jaw clenched. Why? He demanded. Why would I swear anything to Slytherins who spent 2 years pretending I didn't exist? Daphne's face went still. Then she spoke, controlled. Because you don't owe me friendship, she said. You owe yourself survival. And my family is one of the few in Britain who knows enough to keep you alive while you learn. Harry's chest rose and fell fast. The man's voice came again. Even. We will not ask you to fight our petty battles, he said. We will not ask you to harm innocents. We will ask you to defend this house if the war reaches our door. Harry stared at him. And if I don't? Harry asked. Daphne's eyes flicked to the spear. You die, she said, blunt. Or someone takes it from your corpse. Either way you lose. Harry's throat tightened so hard it felt like swallowing glass. He hated that she was saying the thing no one else ever said out loud. He hated that it made sense. Harry forced himself to breathe slower. He looked at the man. What are you offering? He asked, voice hoarse. The man's gaze stayed steady. A place to heal, he said. Instruction and protection from those who would bind you for their own comfort. Harry's stomach twisted at that, because it hit too close. Daphne watched him closely, eyes sharp. "Say the terms you want," she said. "You can. That's the difference." Harry's mouth went dry. He had never been asked that. Not really. His brain scrambled, practical and immediate, because if he thought too hard he would panic. "I don't do anything illegal," he said, and the words came out clumsy. Daphne snorted. "Quiet. You already have," she said. Harry glared at her. She lifted a hand slightly, like she was conceding a point. "Fine," she said. "Say what you mean." Harry swallowed hard. "I won't hurt your family," he said. "And I won't let anyone hurt them if they come here. But you don't get to tell me who I fight. And you don't get to take this from me." The spear pulsed cold at the last line, like it approved. Daphne's eyes flicked to the spear, then back to Harry. "And you learn," she added. Harry's jaw clenched. "And I learn," he echoed, bitter. The man nodded slightly. "That is acceptable," he said. Harry looked between them. "And if you betray me?" he asked, voice low. "If you try to hand me over?" Daphne's gaze hardened. "Then the oath burns us," she said. "And the spear will know." Harry's stomach dropped again. He looked at the spear. It sat there, still, like it was listening. Harry's right hand throbbed, a steady reminder that time was not his friend. He swallowed hard. "Where?" Harry asked. "Where do we do it?" The man's gaze shifted to the door. "In the oath room," he said. Harry's heart hammered. Daphne stepped closer to the table and held out her hand again. "Palm up." "Stand," she said. Harry forced himself up, legs shaking. Daphne did not support him unless he wobbled too hard, and Harry hated that he appreciated that, because it meant she was treating him like a person, not a glass doll. The man opened the door and led them through the corridor. They walked in silence for a moment. The only sound the soft thud of Harry's steps and the faint tap of Daphne's boots. Harry realized the spear did not scrape, did not clatter. It moved with him like it was part of his shadow. They reached another door heavier than the rest. The man pressed his hand to it and murmured something Harry did not catch, and the door opened without a sound. Inside was a small circular room, stone floor marked with faint silver lines that caught the lamplight. No candles, no dramatic skulls. Nothing theatrical, just a clean space that felt like it had been used for serious things. Harry's mouth went dry. Daphne stepped to one side, leaving Harry the center without pushing him there. The man stayed near the door, not looming, just present. Daphne spoke, voice even. "Hold the spear upright," she said. Harry did, planting the butt lightly on the stone. The spear felt heavier here, like the room recognized it. Daphne stepped closer, stopping a pace away. "You swear on it," she said. "And you mean it. Don't try to twist words. It doesn't like clever." Harry's mouth twisted. "Yeah," he muttered. "I've noticed it hates lying." Daphne's gaze flicked to his eyes. "Good," she said. "Use that." Harry swallowed hard. His heart hammered so loud he could hear it in his ears. He looked at Daphne. "What do you swear?" he asked, because it felt wrong to make him the only one bound. Daphne's expression stayed steady. "I swear to teach you," she said, "and to shelter you as long as you keep the terms." Harry's throat tightened. "And if I break them?" he asked. Daphne's eyes did not flinch. "Then the house will spit you out," she said. "And the spear will take its due." Harry felt sick. He looked at the man near the door. "And you?" Harry asked. The man's gaze held his. "I swear my house will not betray you to your enemies," he said, "and that we will not attempt to take your artifact by force or deception." The spear went colder, like it was weighing the words. Harry's stomach rolled. He did not trust easily, but he trusted the spear's reaction more than he wanted to admit. Harry inhaled, slow. Then he spoke, voice rough but clear, forcing each word steady. "I, Harry Potter," he said, and his throat tightened around his own name, "swear that if war comes to this house, if someone attacks the Greengrass family, I will defend them. I will not harm them. I will not allow harm if I can stop it. And I will not turn this spear on them." The room felt like it leaned in. Harry swallowed hard and continued, because stopping felt like backing down. "In exchange," he said, voice shaking slightly, "I accept sanctuary here and instruction. I accept help to survive this. I keep my spear. I choose my fights. No one binds me or hands me over." The spear pulsed once, cold and sharp, right through his bones. Harry flinched, but he did not let go. Daphne stepped forward, close enough now that Harry could see the reins still clinging to her lashes. She placed her hand lightly on the wood of the spear, just below Harry's grip. The moment she touched it, the air changed. Not wind, not sound, just pressure. Like the room took a breath. Daphne spoke, voice clear. I, Daphne Greengrass, swear to teach you the runes you need to read what you hold. I swear to shelter you in my house, and to speak truth to you about what this is, even when it hurts. I will not use you as a tool without your consent, and I will not lie to you to keep you obedient. Harry's stomach twisted at that last line, because it hit like a knife in a soft place. The spear went colder, then warmer, like it was accepting the shape of the promise. The silver lines on the floor flickered, faint, then steadied. Harry's breath caught. A thin thread of golden light slid out of the spear, not exploding, not flashy, just appearing like it had always been there, curling around Harry's wrist like a warm band. Harry's eyes went wide. The thread did not burn, but he felt it sink into him, not into skin, into something deeper, like a hook in his chest. Daphne inhaled sharply, the first real crack in her composure, as the same golden thread curled around her wrist too. For a moment, the thread stretched between them, a visible line of light, thin but unbreakable, humming faintly. Harry's heart hammered. He tried to pull his hand back on instinct, and the thread tightened, not painful, just firm, a reminder. Daphne's fingers tightened on the spear. Her eyes met his, and for the first time she looked unsettled. Done, she whispered. Harry's throat tightened. He stared at the thread, at the way it connected them. He felt it too, not like affection, not like friendship, like obligation, like a promise with teeth. The man near the door exhaled slowly, like he had been holding his breath too. It is sealed, he said. Harry swallowed hard. His right hand throbbed again, but less, like the spear had paused its hunger for a second because it had gotten what it wanted. Harry's shoulders sagged. He realized he was shaking, full body, like he had just survived a fight. Daphne stepped back first, letting go of the spear. The golden thread remained, still visible, resting between their wrists like a quiet warning. Harry's mouth went dry. So, he managed, voice hoarse. That's it. I'm tied to you now. Daphne's expression settled back into calm, but her eyes stayed sharp. You're tied to your word, she corrected. Harry let out a shaky laugh that sounded like it might turn into a sob if he was not careful. Yeah, he muttered. Brilliant. Because words have always been safe for me. Daphne's gaze softened a fraction. Here, she said, and she stepped closer, reaching out. Harry tensed immediately, muscles tight. Daphne paused, not touching him yet, and spoke like she was offering him control. May I? She asked, nodding at his right hand. Harry blinked, thrown by the question. No one asked him that lately. He swallowed hard. Yeah, he said, and it came out quieter than he meant. Daphne's fingers closed gently around his wrist again, careful, and she guided him out of the circle and back into the corridor. The manor swallowed them in silence again, and Harry realized his breathing was starting to slow for the first time since he ran. He still hurt, he still felt sick, but the pressure of being hunted, the fear of the next door opening to someone who wanted to lock him away, eased just a little. Daphne led him back to the small room with the herbs. Sit, she said again, and Harry did. She took the jar of salve and dipped her fingers again. Harry watched her hands, the way she worked like she had done this 100 times. You don't flinch, Harry said, voice rough. Daphne glanced up briefly. Flinching doesn't help, she said. Harry huffed a laugh. Spoken like someone who's never been bitten by a basilisk, he muttered. Daphne's lips twitched. I'll put that on my list of life goals, she said, dry. Harry actually laughed, a real one this time, even though it hurt his chest. Daphne's eyes flicked to him, and she shook her head slightly, as if he made no sense to her. Then she lowered her gaze back to his hand and applied the salve again, careful and steady. The burn hit, sharp, and Harry's whole body tensed, but Daphne's grip stayed firm, grounding him. Breathe, she said again. Harry did, panting through his teeth. For a moment, with the lamp light steady and the manor quiet, He felt something he had not felt in weeks. Not happiness, not safety exactly, just space. Room to exist without someone shouting at him. Daphne finished the second layer and wiped her fingers again. She looked at him, and her voice turned practical. Eat, she said. Sleep, and when you wake up you start learning. If you refuse, the spear will keep drinking from you until there's nothing left. Harry swallowed hard. His eyelids felt heavy. You're a cheerful teacher, he muttered. Daphne's gaze held his. I'm an honest one, she said. Harry's chest tightened. He thought of the golden thread, still faintly visible at his wrist, warm against his skin. He thought of contracts and oaths and how unfair it was that his life kept turning into bargains. Then he looked at his hand again, at the necrosis held back for now, not cured, just contained. He was alive, barely but alive. Harry let out a long breath and leaned back in the chair, exhaustion crashing down like a wave. Fine, he said, voice tired. Teach me. Daphne nodded once, like that was the only sensible outcome. Good, she said. Harry's eyes closed for half a second, then opened again because sleep felt dangerous even here. Daphne, he said, voice low. She looked up. What? She asked. Harry swallowed hard. If this thing, he said, nodding at the spear. If it's a contract, then what did it promise me? What did it promise before it started eating me? Daphne stared at the spear for a moment, then back at Harry. Her voice was quiet. Victory, she said. Every time you throw it, every time you commit, it will not miss. Harry's throat tightened. And the price, he whispered. Daphne's eyes flicked to his necrotic hand again. Then she looked at him, and her voice went colder, like she was forcing herself not to soften it. It takes what you can't afford to lose, she said. Harry's stomach dropped. Outside the manor, the wind pressed against the windows, soft and relentless, like the world was still out there, still hunting, still moving toward war. Inside, the spear leaned against the table, silent, patient, like it had all the time in the world. Harry stared at it, then at the golden thread at his wrist, and felt the first real fear of what he was becoming settle in his chest, because he could already feel it, deep down. The spear did not care who deserved to win, cared that someone did, and now it had taught him what that kind of victory tasted like. He did not sleep that night, not really. He just sat in the quiet, breathing through the pain, listening to the manor's silence, and waiting for the next lesson to start. Harry's boots slid on wet grass and he nearly went down, but he caught himself with a sharp twist of his hips and a hard breath through his teeth. Again, Daphne said. Her voice did not rise. It never did. It just landed. Harry adjusted his grip on the spear. The wood felt warm under his palm, like it was alive, like it remembered every time he had tried to drop it. He did not say he was tired. He was tired, saying it would not change anything. The Scottish Highlands around them were gray and cold and quiet, the kind of quiet that made you hear your own breathing and hate it. Mist crawled low over the ground. The wind kept trying to get inside his clothes. Daphne stood a few steps away, cloak tight around her shoulders, hair pinned back, wand in hand. Not raised like she wanted to hex him, just ready, like a teacher who expected him to trip and wanted to stop him from cracking his skull. Throw, she said. Harry rolled his shoulders once, trying to loosen the stiffness. His right hand still hurt, even with the salve. The skin was tight and dead in patches. It felt like someone had wrapped his bones in rough cloth and then set it on fire. He set his feet. He threw. The spear left his hand with a clean snap. No wobble, no hesitation. Cut through the mist like it was slicing paper. Harry had aimed at a boulder they had marked with runes in chalk. It did not matter. The spear did what it wanted. It hit the exact point he meant anyway, right where the chalk circle met the stone, and it sank in deep with a dull thud. Harry's stomach jumped every time, like his body expected a crack of thunder, like it expected the world to argue. Nothing argued. The spear sat there, buried in stone, looking stupidly calm. Daphne nodded once. Now call it back, she said. Harry swallowed. His throat was dry. The air felt too thin. He lifted his left hand, palm open, like he was coaxing a skittish animal. Rado, he said. The rune name felt strange in his mouth. It was not like saying a spell. Spells were habits. Spells were school. This felt like stepping onto a frozen lake and hoping it held. Nothing happened. Harry's jaw clenched. Daphne did not move closer. She did not rescue him with pity. She just watched, eyes sharp. Again, she said. Harry drew a breath. He could smell damp earth and pine. He could smell his own sweat too, sharp and sour, mixed with the faint metal tang that never fully left his mouth now. "Rado," he said again, louder. The spear did not move. His pulse picked up. Heat crawled up his neck. He pushed harder, like willpower could force the world to obey. "Rado," he snapped. The spear ripped out of the boulder and shot toward him so fast it blurred. The air whined. The mist split. Harry flinched on instinct and the spear slammed into his hand a fraction too hard. Pain tore up his arm. He grunted and stumbled back a step, boots digging into wet grass. His right hand screamed. His fingers spasmed. Daphne was at his side in a second. Not touching him yet. Just there. Close enough that he could feel her presence like a wall. "Do not flinch," she said, clipped. Harry laughed once. Bitter and breathless. "Yeah," he rasped. "Sure. I will just tell my body not to be a body." Daphne's eyes narrowed. "You told your body to throw it," she said. "You can tell it to catch." Harry's chest rose and fell fast. He wanted to argue. He wanted to say she did not understand what it felt like. The spear moving like it owned his bones. Then he remembered she had touched it during the oath and her breath had hitched. He remembered the golden thread at their wrists, warm and steady, like a reminder that he could not just run off and disappear without consequences. He forced himself to breathe slower. Daphne turned away and walked back to her spot like she had not just saved him from falling. "Again," she said. Harry tightened his grip, ignoring the ache. His right hand pulsed. His palm was damp, not just from mist. "Why does it hit harder when I call it back?" he demanded. Daphne's answer came instantly. "Because you called it wrong," she said. "You did not invite it. You demanded." Harry's mouth twisted. "I have demanded things my whole life," he shot back. "No one listens unless you demand." Daphne looked at him then, properly, eyes cool. "This does not care about your trauma," she said. "It cares about terms." Harry hated how she could say that without flinching. He lifted the spear again. The wood felt heavier, like it was testing him. "Fine," he said. "How do I say it then?" Daphne's wand flicked and a faint glow traced a rune in the air. Simple lines. No flourish. "Rado is movement," she said. "Journey. Return. It is not a leash. It is a path." Harry stared at the shape. "Okay," he said, because what else was there? Daphne's gaze dropped to his right hand. "Your hand," she said. Harry's stomach tightened. He did not want to look at it. "What about it?" he said anyway. "You are using it like a handle," Daphne replied. "Like a tool. It is a wound. Treat it like one." Harry swallowed. He did not like being reminded he was damaged. He did not like that the spear knew it too. Daphne stepped closer and held out her hands. Harry tensed. She paused, like she was letting him decide. "Give me your right hand," she said. Harry hesitated, then slowly held it out. Daphne took it carefully, fingers cool against the tight skin. Her touch was firm but not rough. She turned his palm slightly, checking the edges of the blackened patches where the salve had stopped the spread. Harry's throat tightened again. It felt stupid, standing there in the cold, letting a girl from Slytherin examine him like he was something fragile. Daphne's voice stayed practical. "It is still hungry," she said, and her eyes flicked toward the spear. "It is using the weak part of you to remind you who holds the leverage." Harry swallowed hard. "So what?" he said. "I just let it." "No," Daphne said. "You make your own leverage." Harry gave her a look. Daphne ignored it and released his hand. "Hold the spear with both hands," she said. "And when you call it back, you breathe in first. You make room. You do not snatch." Harry's mouth twisted. "You are teaching me breathing," he muttered. "I am teaching you control," Daphne replied. "Breathing is a cheap way to get there." Harry wanted to laugh at that. He did not. He just nodded once. He threw again. The spear hit the boulder again, exact as before. Harry drew a breath in through his nose, slow enough to hurt. He held his left hand open and kept his right hand steady, even though it ached. "Rado," he said quietly. The spear slid out of the stone like it was leaving water, smooth and silent, and it returned to his hands with less impact, like it had decided not to punish him. Harry blinked. He caught it clean. His shoulders loosened a fraction. Daphne's eyes watched him, measuring. "Better," she said. Harry let out a breath he had not realized he was holding. "Great," he muttered. "So I am learning how to politely ask a spear to stop breaking my hand." Daphne's mouth twitched. "Progress," she said. Harry almost smiled, then stopped himself. Felt dangerous, letting his guard down. The wind pushed harder and Harry shivered. Daphne saw it. She did not offer her cloak. She did not baby him. She just stepped closer and tapped her wand against the ground. A rune flashed briefly in the grass, then faded, and the wind around them softened, like someone had shut a door a little. Harry blinked. "You can do that," he said. Daphne glanced at him. "I can do most things," she replied. Harry snorted. "Right," he said. "Slytherin modesty." Daphne's eyes narrowed. "You are freezing," she said. "You are injured. You are using an artifact that drains you. If you want to survive, you stop wasting energy on sarcasm." Harry opened his mouth to snap back, then stopped. She was not wrong. He hated that. Daphne lifted her wand again and traced another rune in the air, then pointed at the spear. "Ansuz," she said. "Say it." Harry frowned. "What does that do?" he asked. "Authority," Daphne replied. "Command. Voice. If you want it to obey without punishing you, you learn when to speak with that rune and when to shut up." Harry stared at the spear. It sat in his hands like it was pretending to be normal. "Ansuz," he said. Nothing happened. Daphne's expression did not change. "Again," she said. "But mean it." Harry's jaw clenched. Mean it. Like he could just switch belief on and off. He thought about the prophecy. He thought about Dumbledore's face when he said things like love would save him. He thought about adults smiling while they planned his life. He felt heat rise in his chest, sharp and bitter. He looked at the spear. "Ansuz," he said again, and this time he did not just say it. He pushed it out like a decision. The air in front of him thickened for a second. Not visible, just pressure. Like the world had paused to listen. The spear warmed in his hands. Harry's breath caught. Daphne's eyes sharpened. "Good," she said quietly. "That is the difference." Harry stared at his own hands. He did not like how easy that felt. He did not like how good it felt either. Later that evening, Harry sat on the stone steps outside a small outbuilding on the estate, shoulders hunched, spear across his knees like an oversized staff. He did not know what the building had been for. Storage, maybe. Something old. It smelled of dust and herbs and cold stone. It felt safer than the main house, because it felt less like someone might appear and demand answers. The highlands were darker now. The mist had thickened. The wind had teeth. Harry's fingers were stiff. His right hand throbbed under the salve. He kept flexing his fingers like he could convince them to work properly. Daphne stepped out behind him, wrapped in her cloak, carrying a small tin cup. She sat beside him without asking. Harry tensed, then forced himself to relax. The golden thread at their wrists was not visible in the dark, but he felt it anyway, a warm pull when she got close. Daphne held the cup toward him. "What is it?" Harry asked, suspicious. "Tea," Daphne replied. "Drink it." Harry glanced at her. "Is it poisoned?" he asked. Daphne's eyes flicked to him, unimpressed. "If I wanted you dead, I would not waste herbs," she said. Harry huffed a laugh and took the cup. The heat seeped into his fingers and he realized how cold he had been. He drank. It was bitter. It tasted like something that wanted to clean him out from the inside. He grimaced. Daphne watched him and said nothing. After a moment, Harry spoke because the silence was pressing on his skull. "How do you know all this?" he asked. Daphne's gaze stayed on the dark hills ahead. "My mother," she said. Harry waited. Daphne's voice stayed controlled. "There are stories wizards pretend they do not believe," she continued. "Old ways, old bargains. My family kept some of it. Because pretending you are above it does not stop it from existing." Harry swallowed. You believe in gods, he said. Daphne looked at him. I believe in consequences, she said. Harry snorted softly. That is not an answer, he said. It is the only answer that matters, Daphne replied. Harry stared into his cup. He could hear the faint crackle of something burning in the distance, probably a fire inside the manor, warmth he was not sure he deserved. He was about to hand the cup back when Daphne reached out suddenly and took his right hand. Harry stiffened instantly. Daphne did not flinch at the dead patches of skin. She just wrapped her fingers around his, firm and warm, and held on. Harry's throat tightened. What are you doing? He asked, voice rough. You are shaking, Daphne said. I am not. Harry lied automatically. Daphne's fingers tightened slightly. You are, she said. Do not waste energy lying to me. You already swore. Harry's jaw clenched. He hated being pinned like that. Not physically, mentally. Daphne brought his hand closer to her cloak and tucked it against her own body heat, warming it without making it a big deal. Harry stared at her profile, at the calm set of her mouth. You are cold too, he muttered. Daphne's answer was simple. I can handle it, she said. Harry swallowed. He tried to pull his hand away. The golden thread tugged inside his chest. Not painful, just there, reminding him of the terms. Daphne's voice stayed calm. Stop fighting me, she said. It is heat, not a trap. Harry stared at the hills again. He forced himself to stay still. For a few minutes they sat like that. The wind pushed at them. The mist crawled. The spear lay heavy across Harry's legs, silent. Harry's eyelids drooped. Exhaustion sat on his shoulders like a weight. Then his mind did what it always did when he got too quiet. He saw the Department of Mysteries again. The archway, the curtain, Sirius's grin, the way it had vanished. He felt the ache in his chest like a fresh bruise. Harry's breathing changed. He hated that Daphne would notice. She did. Nightmares, Daphne said. Harry's jaw clenched. I do not want to talk about it, he said. Daphne did not push immediately. She just kept holding his hand, warm and steady. Then she spoke again, softer. I do not need details, she said. Just tell me what it does to you. Harry swallowed hard. It makes me want to break things, he said, and the honesty tasted like blood. Daphne's gaze flicked to him. And the spear, she said. Harry's grip tightened on the cup. The spear likes it, he admitted. Daphne's face stayed still, but her eyes sharpened. Tell me, she said. Harry let out a shaky breath. It feels, he started, then stopped because the words felt wrong. Daphne waited. Harry forced it out. It feels like the only thing that does not lie, he said. It does what it says. It hits. It returns. It does not pretend. Daphne's fingers tightened slightly on his. And that makes you feel safe, she said, not as a question. Harry's throat tightened. Yeah, he said, barely audible. Daphne looked down at their hands for a moment, then back out at the dark hills. It will use that, she said quietly. Harry's stomach twisted. I know, he said. Daphne's voice stayed steady. Then you build other things that are true, she said. So it is not the only one. Harry stared at her. You mean you? He said before he could stop himself. Daphne's eyes flicked to him, and for a second her composure cracked. Just a hair. I mean your choices, she said, and her tone was sharper again, like she was covering it up. Do not turn this into poetry. Harry huffed a weak laugh. Would not dream of it, he muttered. Daphne's fingers stayed around his, warming him anyway. The spear pulsed once, faint, like it was listening. Harry's skin prickled. Daphne felt it too. Her head turned toward the spear immediately. What? Harry asked, alert. Daphne's eyes narrowed. It is restless, she said. Harry swallowed. Because I am not fighting, he guessed. Daphne's voice stayed flat. Because something is happening, she corrected. Harry's stomach dropped. He sat up straighter. His pulse picked up. Daphne released his hand and stood, wand already in motion. She traced a rune in the air, quick and clean, and the air in front of them shimmered. A faint image formed, not like a moving photograph, more like a reflection in dark water. Smoke, a flash of green light, a scream cut short. Harry's blood went cold. He was on his feet before he realized it, spear in hand. Where? He demanded. Daphne's jaw tightened. That is not a normal scry, she said. It is reacting. It is showing you what it wants you to see. Harry's chest heaved. It is showing people dying, he snapped. So yeah, I want to see it. Daphne's eyes met his. And it wants you to go, she said. Do you see the difference? Harry's jaw clenched hard enough to ache. He hated that she was right. Another flicker in the image. A black mask. A laugh he recognized even through the thin magic. Bellatrix. Harry's stomach twisted. His throat tightened. The spear warmed in his hands like it had been waiting for that name. Harry's voice went low. That is her, he said. Daphne's eyes stayed on the image. Then we move, she said. Harry blinked at her. You are coming, he demanded. Daphne looked at him like he was slow. I made an oath, she said. Do not make me repeat myself. Harry swallowed. He nodded once. They did not waste time packing. Daphne grabbed a small pouch and a pair of short blades from a shelf near the door, the metal etched with faint runes that caught the lamplight. Harry kept the spear in his grip like letting go would mean losing his spine. Daphne stepped close and placed her hand on his forearm. Do not fight the pull, she said. Harry's breath hitched. He hated that his body wanted to flinch again. He forced himself still. Rado, Daphne said, voice clear. Harry felt the rune name like a hook in his chest. The world lurched. It was not like apparition. Apparition made your insides twist like someone wrung you out. This felt like being dragged through a narrow crack in reality. Scraped raw, then thrown out the other side. Harry gagged. His boots hit muddy ground. Cold air slapped his face. He bent forward, hands on his knees, spear planted to keep him upright. He coughed hard. His throat burned. Daphne stumbled too, but she recovered faster, jaw set. Breathe, she said. Harry sucked in air like it was the first time he had ever needed it. The smell hit him next. Smoke, burning thatch, wet earth, and blood. Harry lifted his head and saw the village. Small, scattered cottages tucked between hills. A few lanterns still burning. A stone lane running through it, and people running. A woman tripped and fell in the mud. A child screamed, high and raw. A jet of green light cut across the lane and the woman stopped moving like someone had switched her off. Harry's stomach turned. Heat surged up his throat. He swallowed hard and forced it down. He heard laughter. It came from the center of the village, from near the largest cottage where smoke poured out of a broken window. Masks glinted in firelight. Death Eaters. Harry's grip tightened until his knuckles ached. Daphne moved beside him, low and quick, scanning. How many? Harry asked, voice rough. 8, Daphne said instantly. Maybe more in the shadows. Harry's heart hammered. He lifted the spear. A man in a mask turned and saw them. He paused, then barked a laugh. Well? The man called, voice muffled by the mask. Look what wandered in. Lost are you, boy? Another Death Eater turned. Then another, like wolves noticing fresh meat. Bellatrix stepped into view like she owned the night. Her hair was wild. Her eyes were bright in the firelight. Even in a mask, Harry would have known that posture. That reckless joy. She tilted her head. Oh, she purred. It is you. Harry's chest tightened so hard it hurt. His mind flashed Sirius's face again. The falling, the empty space. Bellatrix's laugh rang in his ears. Harry's voice came out low. Stop, he said. Leave them alone. Bellatrix laughed like he had told her a joke. And what will you do? She asked. You have no wand. Poor little lamb. Did Dumbledore finally tell you to run away? Harry's jaw clenched. His eyes burned. Daphne stepped forward half a pace. Blades in her hands. Runes faintly glowing along the edges. Bellatrix's gaze flicked to Daphne. Oh, she said, delighted. A green grass. How quaint. Come to play in the mud with us. Daphne's voice stayed flat. Do not talk, she said. Just leave. Bellatrix smiled wider. No, she said. A Death Eater to Bellatrix's left raised his wand. Green light gathered. Harry moved before the curse fired. He threw Gungnir. The spear crossed the space faster than Harry's eyes could track. It punched through the Death Eater's chest and pinned him to the cottage wall behind him. There was no flash of magic. No sparkles. Just the ugly, solid sound of metal hitting flesh and wood. The Death Eater twitched once, hands clawing at the shaft. Harry's stomach lurched. Then the spear ripped itself free and returned to Harry's hand with a hard smack. Harry barely caught it. His right hand screamed. He did not let go. Silence hit for half a second. Bellatrix stared at the corpse pinned to the wall, and then she laughed, breathless, like she had just seen the best trick. "Oh," she whispered. "That is new." The Death Eaters shifted, no longer relaxed. Wands rose in a line. Daphne moved, fast and clean. She flicked her wand, and a rune flared in the air between them and the first curse. A shield formed, not like a normal shield charm. It looked thin, like a pane of pale light. The curse hit it and twisted, bending away like it had slid off glass. Harry's pulse hammered. He did not wait. He moved, not with spells, with steps. He sprinted straight at them. His boots hit mud. His lungs burned. His right hand screamed. The spear felt lighter as he ran, like it wanted to be used. A curse shot past his shoulder and scorched the air. He felt the heat on his skin. Another curse came, and Daphne's rune shield shifted to catch it. Harry reached the first Death Eater and swung the spear like a staff, smashing it into the man's knee. The knee bent wrong. The Death Eater screamed and went down. Harry's stomach lurched again, but his body did not stop. He drove the spear but into the man's mask, cracking it, and the man's head snapped back. Harry did not look at the face under it. He could not. He turned, spear point already moving. Two Death Eaters rushed him, wands raised, trying to overwhelm him at close range. Harry threw the spear again, not at either of them, but between them, and the spear curved in the air like it was choosing its own target. Took the one on the right through the throat. The man gurgled and fell. The other Death Eater froze, shock hitting him too late. Harry caught the returning spear and drove the shaft into the man's ribs, hard enough that he heard something crack. The Death Eater folded, gasping. Harry's breath came in harsh bursts. His arms shook. His right hand burned. The spear warmed in his grip, like it was pleased. Bellatrix's laughter cut through the chaos. "There you are," she sang, and then she moved. She was fast. She always had been, like a knife in the dark. Her curse hit Daphne's shield, and the shield shuddered. Daphne's jaw tightened. Sweat beaded on her brow. Bellatrix spun and fired again and again, pushing, testing. Daphne's runes held, but Harry could see the strain. Daphne's breathing was getting faster. Her fingers trembled slightly around her wand. Harry's stomach tightened. He shifted, trying to get to Daphne's side. A Death Eater stepped into his path, wand raised. Harry did not hesitate. He slammed the spear point into the man's shoulder and drove him backward into the mud, pinning him down. The man screamed, hands scrabbling at the spear. Harry ripped it free and turned. Bellatrix saw him coming and her grin sharpened. "Yes," she breathed. "Come on then." Harry's chest was tight. His vision narrowed. The village noise blurred. The spear hummed in his hand. Bellatrix fired a curse at his face. Harry twisted. The curse grazed his cheek. Heat flared and his skin stung. He grunted and kept moving. Bellatrix laughed again. "That all you have?" she taunted. "A stick and a tantrum." Harry's voice came out low, harsh. "I have enough," he said. Bellatrix's eyes flashed. "Your father begged," she said, voice sweet. "Did you know that he begged before he died?" Harry's stomach dropped. Rage surged up so hard it made his hands shake. He heard Daphne's voice, sharp, cutting in. "Harry," she snapped. The golden thread inside his chest tugged, like a hook pulling him back from the edge. Harry sucked in a breath. His jaw clenched. His shoulders shook. Bellatrix's grin widened. "Oh," she purred. "She is keeping you on a leash. How adorable." Daphne's eyes were hard. "It is not a leash," Daphne said. "It is a reminder you still have a choice." Bellatrix laughed. "Choice," she repeated. "He has never had a choice." Harry's chest heaved. He threw the spear. Bellatrix flicked her wand, quick, trying to block. The spear did not slow. It did not care. It punched through her shield like it was paper and slammed into the ground beside her, missing her by a handspan. Bellatrix blinked, startled for the first time. Harry's stomach tightened. It missed. The spear never missed. The spear pulsed in his hand even though it was not in his hand, like it was angry. Harry felt the anger like it belonged to him. Daphne's voice snapped. "Do not chase it," she said. "Call it." Harry drew a breath, forced his shoulders down. "Rado," he said, and the spear ripped out of the ground and returned. Bellatrix lunged at the moment it moved, trying to close the distance while Harry's focus shifted. Harry caught the spear and swung, the shaft clipping Bellatrix's wrist hard. Her wand flew. It hit the mud. Bellatrix's eyes went wide, then bright with glee. "Now," she whispered. "Now we are playing." She moved in, nails out like claws, grabbing at Harry's coat. Harry shoved her back with the spear shaft, hard enough to make her stumble. Bellatrix laughed and stepped forward again. Harry's right hand screamed. His grip slipped for a second. Bellatrix saw it. She slammed her palm into his injured hand. Pain exploded up Harry's arm. His vision white flashed. He made a sound like a broken breath and staggered. Bellatrix's voice was low, delighted. "There it is," she said. "The rot. The weakness. You always have something rotten inside you, Potter." Harry's stomach lurched. Rage and nausea twisted together. He swung again, wild. Bellatrix ducked and laughed, stepping aside like she was dancing. Daphne shouted, voice tight, "Harry, stop. Do not let her pull you." Harry heard it, but it sounded far away. Bellatrix grabbed a fallen villager's lantern and smashed it on the ground. Fire flared. Smoke hit Harry's face. He coughed hard. Bellatrix's laugh came through the smoke. "Do it," she whispered. "Kill me. Be what you are." Harry's eyes burned. Tears stung. Smoke clogged his throat. He gripped the spear with both hands and drove forward. The spear hit Bellatrix in the side and knocked her off her feet. She hit the ground hard, breath whooshing out. Harry stepped toward her, boots sinking into mud, spear point aimed down. Bellatrix lay there, hair spread like a dark halo in the muck, eyes bright, lips curled.